Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Age of Gods, signed to Beiming Kunpeng at the beginning of the game. Chapter 31. A breath of incomparable horror came out of Qinming, feeling a breath. Huo Qingqing was directly silly. Strong, too strong. In front of Qinming, she was basically an ant, and the pressure of this aura made her breathless. This is beyond her cognition. Even if Huo Qingqing in his heyday was a fart in front of Qinming, if she was compared to a small brook, then Qinming in front of him was a vast ocean. Is this comparable? Huo Qingqing understood in an instant. This is a hidden boss, she can't afford it. And many more. When Qinming was about to do it, Huo Qingqing suddenly spoke, and Qinming stopped when he heard the words. Are you? Huh. As soon as Qinming spoke, Huo Qingqing in front of him disappeared instantly, not even a trace of breath or trace was revealed. Gone. Is this just running away? Qinming scratched his head. Brother is so terrible. As he said, he turned his head and looked at the shop glass beside him. From the glass, he could see Qinming's figure. After staring at it for a while, Qinming shook his head and mumbled. I don't look like ugly, am I? Shaking his head, without taking this matter to heart, the other party just ran away. What can Qinming do? Is he going to catch this person all over the world? The family doesn't live on the beach, so why is it so wide? On the other side, in a dark alley, Huo Qingqing leaned against the wall. His chest was constantly rising and falling, and a trace of red blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. When she realized that Qinming could not be offended, she directly activated her strongest means of escape, and according to her current strength, she was immediately seriously injured. But compared with life, a serious injury is naturally more important. This small injury is also a drizzle. Fortunately, escape quickly, that guy is simply too cruel. What the hell is this place? How can there be such a terrifying person? Huo Qingqing clutched her chest, unable to calm the fear in her heart for a long time. When facing Qinming, Huo Qingqing didn't even have the idea of resisting. It's too dangerous outside, I'd better find a place to hide. Huo Qingqing murmured, his body disappeared again. Back in the hotel and looking at the empty hall, Qinming felt sad, but Niu Junda happened to be here again. Qinming, look at what good things I got for you. Niu Junda said, stretching out his hand to pick up an old hen. This stuff is a big supplement. Hurry up and have a pot of soup. I will be on vacation tomorrow, and we can make a table at night. Niu Junda laughed. Anyway, there is nothing to do, and it is almost time for dinner in the evening. Since someone gave a chicken for free, there is no reason for Qinming to refuse. He walked into the back kitchen and started busy. Niu Junda leaned in front of the counter and looked around boredly, but soon he discovered that another employee in the store looked at Owen with something wrong. This person's name is Chen Gui, and Niu Junda has also communicated several times. Although the other person is honest, Niu Junda feels that the summary is not as pleasing as his own brother Qinming. Looking at Chen Gui's eyes at this time, I don't know why, Niu Junda only felt cold in his spine. Don't look at me like this, you're so panicky. Niu Junda looked at Chen Gui in a daze. Chen Gui grinned. It's nothing, that, or I will cook you a bowl of seafood noodles. Seafood noodles. These three words immediately evoked Niu Junda's horrible experience, and the taste of the bowl of noodles at noon was almost fresh in his memory. No way, I have to drink some water. Niu Junda rushed to the side and started drinking. Chen Gui looked dazed, and sighed in his heart. It's okay, there will always be a chance in the future. It didn't take long for Xiao Nianzu to come to the store. She didn't go to school all afternoon. She was studying homework at home. According to Qinming's words, reading more books would always do no harm. Seeing Niu Junda, who was drinking water frantically, Xiao Nianzu's eyes showed a deep disgust, and then hurriedly walked into the back kitchen and began to help Qinming. After dinner, Niu Junda sighed while picking his teeth. Lao Qin, your craftsmanship is really amazing. I have been in Donghai City since I was a kid, and I have eaten countless delicacies, but compared to you, those top chefs are simply idiots who don't know how to cook. The next day, I will bring my colleagues over to eat together. We must let them feel what is delicious on earth. Qinming's eyes lit up. Yes, look at your face, I will give you a 20% discount. Wah, you deserve to be old Qin, brother enough. After eating and cleaning up, there were still no guests, so Qinming packed up his things early and went home to rest. At about 10:30 in the evening, Qinming, who was about to sleep and rest, was taken aback. The next second he disappeared, but he reappeared about 100 meters behind the small courtyard. Just now, he suddenly felt a spatial fluctuation here, as well as the breath of a spirit body. He killed the spirit body that appeared as soon as he arrived, and then squinted his eyes to look around. This is a small alley, and the spatial fluctuation seems to be coming from here. With Qinming's current strength, he discovered the clue in just 10 seconds. Got you. Qinming looked at the open space in front of him, the corner of his mouth raised, and the amount of internal energy shook slightly, and the space in front of him suddenly began to twist, and a black hole the size of a fist appeared in front of him. Seeing this, Qinming immediately understood that this is a different dimensional space created with the revival of spiritual qi. The reason why there will be many spirit beasts in the era of spiritual qi recovery is all because of these different dimensions. It can be said that spiritual qi also came from these places. These spatial passages are very secret. Unless the powerhouses above the God of War level search carefully, they cannot be found at all. Looking at the big fist space before buying, Qinming raised his eyebrows, and then looked back at own courtyard. Only then did he understand why this yard could be sold at such a low price. The feeling is that the surrounding spirits appear too frequently. With this space, the frequency is naturally high. His father, finally let Daddy find the problem. It turns out that you are the little thing here to blame. If it weren't for you, will Daddy's store not come alone at the end of the day? Thinking of this, Qinming was gnashing his teeth and cutting off money like killing his parents. How could he just let it go? Qinming was about to do it right now, preparing to explode this spatial channel. As a result, there was a sudden fluctuation in the space channel, and then, an extremely powerful breath came from the entrance of the cave. At the same time, the color of the sky and the earth changed, and the wind and clouds flowed. In the small alley, there was continuous cloudy wind, and the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped to freezing point. Ha 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 ha, a bunch of trash, just because you want to seal this king. With a frantic laughter, one foot stepped out of the hole. Diddy-diddy. The harsh sirens sounded frantically in the base of the guarding bureau, and all the personnel on duty were alarmed, and they hurriedly checked the situation. At first glance, it's incredible, everyone was frightened stupid. War. God of War class evil spirit. A duty officer was holding a coffee cup, but his hands were constantly shaking. What are you doing in a daze? Contact the boss as soon as possible. The entire Guardian Bureau was in chaos. At this time, a middle-aged man walked in. This person was another God of War class powerhouse in the East Sea City Guardian Bureau, Song Tiandong. What's going on? Song Tiandong listened to the alarm and hurriedly asked about the current situation. It's not good, Captain Song, there are God of War level evil spirits appearing in the east area of the city. What? Song Tiandong exclaimed, but soon a touch of surprise appeared in his eyes. God knows how awkward he was in the guarding bureau during this period. First, he was overwhelmed by Yang Qianchen's strength, but there was no way. He was stronger and talented than himself, and his background was terrifying. That's it. Later, what Niu Junda came out, which made everyone in the guarding bureau know that, as a God of War guardian, he is not as famous as a bronze rank. But he couldn't help it either. Niu Junda is now Sun Shoheng's naming key training person. Not only can he not trouble the other party, but also help train him. Many things caused Song Tiandong's presence in the guarding bureau to be very low. He usually does some coolie work, and his boss, Sun Shoheng, seems to have forgotten him. It happened that he was on duty today, and he had to seize this opportunity when he encountered such an opportunity. This is a good opportunity to become famous. If you miss this village, you won't have this shop. God of War level evil spirits, how long have you not seen them? This is a feat of walking. Song Tiandong was very excited. As long as he dealt with the evil spirit today, he would definitely become the second in command. Sun Shoheng would definitely look at him with admiration. At the moment, Song Tiandong rushed out of the guarding bureau and went straight to the scene. He wants to kill the evil spirit before Sun Shoheng and Yang Qianchen react. At the same time, inside the alley, a young man wearing a black python robe walked out of the black hole. He squinted his eyes, opened his hands, and his face was full of enjoyment. Ah, the long-lost human breath is really wonderful. My macro heavenly demon has finally come out. The young man took a deep breath, held back the excitement in his heart, and opened his eyes after he calmed down. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw a young man standing in front of him with a dull expression. He was obviously shocked by Owen's appearance. Especially that lifelike appearance, without the slightest exaggeration, can let people see the shock in his heart. This kid looks pleasing to the eye. Tiny human, since you are the first person to see this king cannot eat you. Give you a chance, kneel down and serve me as Lord, and I will give you countless glory and wealth. The corners of Heavenly Demon's mouth raised slightly, and he looked at Qinming with an evil smile. Qinming was still expressionless, there was no reason why he was so shocked. Hi, how did you get out of such a small black hole? Qinming's face was full of differences, and his eyes kept turning on the fist-sized black hole in the young man. Hong Heavenly Demon was taken aback. Human, what are you talking about? Qinming shook his head, took out a cigarette, and slightly narrowed his eyes. Just now, what were you talking about? Ha, stupid human beings, don't know what is good or bad, now kneel down and be my servant, otherwise, the consequences will be very serious. Hong Heavenly Demon sneered, the cold breath flowing on his body, and the surrounding temperature dropped again. At this time, the temperature in the alley was already below zero. Qinming nodded calmly. Well, what then? Then, Hong Heavenly Demon was taken aback. He obviously didn't expect Qinming to ask such a question. If a human being faced Owen in the past, he would have been scared to pee. But it doesn't matter, he just broke the seal and was in a good mood. The rest of the matter is naturally simple. Of course, it is to release my thousands of evil spirit servants, slaughter this city, and collect millions of souls to help me cultivate. Hong Heavenly Demon smiled indifferently. Don't worry, as long as you kneel down now, I will give you the right to be above 10,000 people alone. In the future, the human servants of this city will be yours. You have what you want, wealth, women, only you can't think of, there is nothing that the king can't give. How about it, don't you have to kneel down and make me king? When he said this, Hong Heavenly Demon's face was full of arrogance and disdain, as if in his opinion, the lives of millions of human beings were nothing but as small as gravel. What did you say? Qinming narrowed his eyes. Macro Heavenly Demon was taken aback. Does this human dare to talk to himself like this? Right now, he looked at Qinming fiercely. Before he could speak, he discovered the abnormality. He felt a fatal threat from Qinming. Niang Exapi, aren't you just trying to block my money? I saw Qinming gritted his teeth and said, you really want to slaughter humans? You killed them all. Daddy Restaurant, do you want to open it? An ant-like human dared to be presumptuous in front of this king. Hong Heavenly Demon snorted coldly. Since you don't know what is good or bad, then go to death. Afterwards, power emerged from the venerable Heavenly Demon, and a strange gust of wind blew towards Qinming. If Qinming was just an ordinary heat, he would inevitably be blown away in an instant, leaving only a skeleton. But this violent wind just arrived in front of Qinming, like a mud cow entering the sea, instantly dissipating without a trace. This can make Heavenly Demon look dumbfounded. Before he could react, an aura slowly emerged from Qinming's body. The moment he felt this aura, Venerable Hong Heavenly Demon directly opened his eyes. You. He looked at Qinming incredulously. It was terrifying. This breath was more terrifying and powerful than all the ghost kings he had ever seen. Block my way of making money, harm the world, and seek death. Qinming was very angry at this time. Originally, he still wanted to communicate with this guy, but when he came up, he would cut off the business of his restaurant. Can he bear it? He raised his hand and slapped Hong Heavenly Demon on the head. Wait, Dage, have something to say. Hong Heavenly Demon was dumbfounded, and knelt directly on the ground with a puff. To be honest, his heart was still very sad and angry. Why did he meet a boss just after breaking the seal? And it was a terrifying existence he had never encountered in his life. Nothing to say. With a cold snort, Qinming slapped Heavenly Demon directly with a slap. Hearing a puff, the figure of Heavenly Demon Hong turned into a mist on the spot. Qinming shot him to death without even pretending. He was also a poor man. Oh no, poor ghost. You said what you are doing is not good, you are going to block my financial path, isn't this having trouble with me? Qin Ming snorted coldly. Clapping his hands, Qin Ming turned around and slapped his hand on the dark space passage. Suddenly, there was a sound of broken glass, and the space channel connecting the different dimensions was directly broken by Qin Ming. The channel was cut off, and no evil spirits would appear from here again. After solving this hidden danger, Qin Ming exhaled a puff of smoke, turned and walked out of the alley. Moreover, after Song Tiandong rushed out of the guarding bureau, he went straight to the place where the incident occurred. Along the way, this guy kept in his mind the scene of killing God of War level evil spirits and saving Donghai City from the water and fire. All the people of Donghai City loved him, and the cheers were higher than the other. Not only that, but the people who guarded the bureau admired him very much, and all of them became his little fans. Sun Shoheng also sighed, and finally gave him the position of the Guardian Bureau boss. Thinking of these pictures, Song Tiandong laughed from ear to ear, and drool came out of the corners of his mouth. Shoot! After wiping his mouth, Song Tiandong rushed towards the alley with excitement, but when he arrived about a kilometer near here, he suddenly felt the terrifying weather. What? Why is this God of War level evil spirit so strong? Song Tiandong was dumbfounded. He himself is the strength of the intermediate God of War. Although he is the bottom of the East Sea City, his true strength cannot be counted as such. Even in the face of some high-level God of War evil spirits, he can still kill. That's why Song Tiandong dared to rush out alone to find death. Bah, where his confidence lies in rushing out to kill the other party alone. But after arriving at the scene, Song Tiandong was stunned by that monstrous icy breath. Only relying on his breath, Song Tiandong knew that he could not be the opponent's opponent at all. The own breath is in front of each other, just like a kid. For a while, Song Tiandong stopped and stood still and fell into entanglement. Is he going or not? It may go down in history, but it will definitely die. If you don't go, there will be no infamy, and your life will be saved. No matter how you look at it, it's not a good deal. But at this moment, the monstrous horror aura suddenly disappeared. It disappeared very strangely and unexpectedly, and Song Tiandong was taken aback. Could it be that the guy knew that I was coming, so he deliberately suppressed his breath and waited for me to die? Song Tiandong secretly guessed. Song Tiandong, be careful, I'll come to help you right away, and leave as soon as possible if you lose. Yang Qianshan's voice came from Guangganao. Ha, who do you look down on? Song Tiandong was directly angry. This Yang Qianshan looked down on himself, and actually let himself be a tortoise. It's just a God of War level evil spirit. Daddy can't beat it, can't it run? Song Tiandong snorted coldly. In order not to make Yang Qianshan look down, he resolutely rushed to the alley. At this time, the place was surprisingly quiet, so quiet that there was no sound, and Song Tiandong did not feel any danger. For a while, Song Tiandong was a little puzzled, should the other party run away? At this moment, he suddenly saw a figure walking out of the alley. The man was wearing white short sleeves, black slacks, short hair, and a cigarette hanging from his mouth. Hey, are you here alone? Song Tiandong stepped forward and shouted. Leave quickly, this place is extremely dangerous. Qin Ming, who came out of the small alley, was taken aback for a moment and turned his head to look around. At the same time, Song Tiandong had already appeared in front of Qin Ming, and at the same time, his spiritual thoughts covered the surroundings. Did you notice anything just now, for example, saw an evil spirit? Song Tiandong looked at Qin Ming seriously. No, nothing happened. Qin Ming lied as plain as drinking water. Really do not have. Song Tiandong was stunned, and there was no problem with the monitoring of the instruments in the Guardian Bureau. God of War level evil spirits must have appeared here. He was worried before that after the evil spirit appeared, this place would become like purgatory and the creatures would become charcoal. As a result, nothing happened, which was a bit strange. For a moment, Song Tiandong suspected that the guy in front of him was not a human being, or that evil spirit. However, he did not feel the breath of any evil spirits. After all, even if the evil spirits can be hidden, the evil breath on his body cannot be concealed after all. Then what are you doing here this night? Song Tiandong raised his eyebrows. No, Uncle, do you have to worry about me when I go shopping at night? Qin Ming was speechless. Song Tiandong coughed embarrassingly. At this moment, Yang Qianqin also appeared here. Qin Ming, why are you here? Yang Qianqin was startled. Qin Ming nodded at Yang Qianqin, then explained it with the previous set of rhetoric, and then left without waiting for the two to continue to question him. For a while, it was Yang Qianqin's turn to be stunned. You two know each other? Song Tiandong raised his eyebrows. Yang Qianqin nodded. Let's not talk about this first. What was the situation just now? Why, can't I track that breath? I don't know, I can still feel the breath when I came, but as soon as I arrived, there was nothing left. This is a weird thing. According to common sense, the evil spirits will attack the surroundings once they show up. The horror of the god of war level evil spirits is probably enough to slaughter the entire Beiming street. As a result, nothing happened. They didn't believe in evil and wanted to walk into the alley to check it out. As soon as they entered, they felt a terrible chill, and Song Tiandong opened his eyes directly. It's this breath. Suddenly the two were extremely vigilant and looked at the surroundings with solemn expressions, but after waiting for 5 minutes, nothing happened. Instead, the chill was gradually dissipating. It seems that the evil spirit is dead. Yang Qianqin raised his eyebrows. Song Haidong also squinted his eyes. Could that be the kid who did it just now? Are you kidding me? A god of war level evil spirit, how could it be? Yang Qianqin retorted, but she was stunned when she said that. She suddenly remembered that Qin Ming was extremely abnormal. As an ordinary person, he could actually be equal to himself, but she had observed Qin Ming and everything about him was the most normal. If there is nothing wrong with this, she will eat shit. Hey, what do you think? Song Tiandong shouted. Yang Qianqin returned to his senses, shook his head and said, it's nothing. Based on my observation of the surrounding breath, the evil spirit is probably dead. In the end, this matter did not stop. Song Tiandong also felt that the evil spirit was dead, and an hour later, the inspection team also got the result. There are strong energy fluctuations around. It is like that the evil spirit blew itself. The crowd couldn't find out why, and the evil spirits are missing now, so things can only be stopped for the time being. However, Yang Qianqin felt that things were not so simple, and she began to look at nearby surveillance information on Guangbrain. Looking at it, there was a dignified look on her face. According to Yang Qianqin's own observation, judging from the riot at the scene, the god of war level evil spirit that suddenly appeared was probably dead. And then the inspection team also received news that the energy body exploded from the inside, which seemed to be caused by the inability to withstand the huge force. The end result is straightforward, that is, it is dead, and it is still dead. But this test report fell in the eyes of Yang Qianqin, and things changed a different flavor. If she remembered correctly, the evil spirits that appeared in Chengdong Forest Park ended in this way. And coincidentally, Qin Ming appeared on the scene both times. Looking at the surveillance data on his Guangmen, Yang Qianqin frowned, and a hint of suspicion appeared in his eyes. After a long time, Yang Qianqin took back his mind and left the small alley. Just after everyone had left, a trembling figure appeared on the other side of the alley. This person looks like 15 or 16 years old, his face is pale, his expression is obviously afraid, and his eyes are even more hazy. Woo, too cruel, too terrifying, slap people to death with a slap if they don't agree, is this still something that humans can do? The devil won't be so moody. The young man covered his mouth, trying not to let himself make a sound. Only then did he have a panoramic view of everything and watch the grandeur of Heavenly Demon being slapped by Qin Ming. That scene is simply the most terrifying thing he has ever seen in his life. The strength of Hong Heavenly Demon can be ranked among the demon kings. As a result, in front of Qin Ming, it is really like an ant, even a slap in the face. Can't hold it. Seeing such a brutal scene with his own eyes caused great harm to the young boy's heart. He didn't even dare to imagine what kind of strength Qin Ming is. Feeling trembling all over. At the moment, the boy understood that there was such a terrifying existence in East Sea City, he could not stay there anymore, and even in his heart he felt silent for those guys who continued to stay in East Sea City. I hope you guys don't run into this guy. Besides, where should I go next? As the boy murmured, his figure slowly disappeared, and the alley was quiet again. In the early morning of the next day, not long after Qinming had opened the hotel for business, there was a person in the store, a person who surprised Qinming. It's weird, it was not Niu Junda that came first today. Qinming raised his eyebrows and looked at Yang Qianchen. At this moment, Yang Qianchen had a solemn expression, squinted her eyes, and kept looking up and down Qinming, with one of her hands still behind her back. Why, what do you want to eat in the morning? Qinming looked at Yang Qianchen. Although he said so, he knew in his heart that Yang Qianchen, a woman who was extremely curious, was definitely not here for dinner. Sure enough, Yang Qianchen stepped forward and leaned on the counter. Qinming, what kind of existence are you? Yang Qianchen said calmly. Don't pretend, I know everything about yesterday. In fact, this woman didn't know anything. She just wanted to blow up Qinming in this way, but obviously she was disappointed, and Qinming had a puzzled expression on her face. What do you know? Yang Qianchen narrowed his eyes slightly, and said in his heart, sure enough, it's not easy to deal with, but it doesn't matter, I will see how you continue to pretend for a while. With that said, Yang Qianchen suddenly stretched out the hand behind him, holding a syringe-like thing in his hand, and pierced Qinming's wrist with a thunderous force. Boom! Naturally, it was empty, and the needle-like instrument slammed on the counter. Fortunately, Yang Qianchen didn't use much force, but left a small dent on the counter. What do you crazy woman want to do? Qinming looked at the small dent on the counter and almost jumped his feet in anger. Do you know what material this counter is made of? It takes at least 50 credits to repair this dent. Haha, I'll give you 100 credits, you let me pierce it. Yang Qianchen smiled and looked at Qinming. Looking at the other party's smile, Qinming didn't know why, and suddenly a chill in his heart. Sure enough, your mind is not normal, Qinming said in disgust. Yang Qianchen was stunned. What did you say? There is a kind of say it again, believe it or not, I will tear it down now. Dare you, if you dare to demolish my shop, I will never end with you. Qinming is actually no weaker than Yang Qianchen shouted. Hearing this, Yang Qianchen's eyes showed a triumphant look. Sure enough, he couldn't hide it, right? Just relying on you, how can a little boss continue to follow me? Yang Qianchen smiled dismissively, but actually wanted to provoke Qinming to see if he could make some more words. Cut, I have surveillance here. As the captain of the Guardian Bureau, you smashed my shop for no reason. Believe it or not, I will complain to you. After listening to Qinming's words, Yang Qianchen almost choked to death with a mouthful of saliva. She really didn't expect Qinming to be such a rascal and want to complain to herself. According to the rules, if Qinming complained about the past, she must be the one who suffers, unless she uses her own identity background, but in this way, it doesn't mean anything. The reason why he stayed in Donghai City was only because Yang Qianchen wanted to prove himself. You're cruel. Yang Qianchen snorted coldly, and left directly. Qinming didn't care much about this. He probably understood what Yang Qianchen wanted to do, but he wouldn't expose it easily. Time flickered, and 3 days passed quietly. For 3 days, the woman Yang Qianchen came to the store to harass Qinming every day. Not only that, but Qinming also found that this guy was sticking to him like a brown candy, and she was hiding in the dark to observe. Is this a spy movie? Fortunately, Yang Qianchen's behavior did not affect Qinming's normal life, so he did not even bother at all. And tomorrow, it will be Xiao Nianzu's birthday. This girl has been in the library every day in the past few days, and she doesn't know what she is doing. It is worth mentioning that Su Qingyuan, who has been missing for a long time, appeared. If this girl doesn't come again, Qinming thinks whether she has run into an evil spirit and died. Boss, sorry, some things have been delayed these days. Su Qingyuan looked at Qinming apologetically. Qinming smiled lightly. It doesn't matter, anyway, the recent business in the store is not very good. When he said this, Qinming felt a little pain in his own heart. Isn't it good to be called? This is so there is no business at all. At this moment, Yang Qianchen, the lingering woman, appeared again. Qinming, I am starving to death, come 10,000 beef noodles. Soon, Su Qingyuan came to Yang Qianchen with a bowl of beef noodles. As soon as the noodles were put down, Yang Qianchen glanced at Su Qingyuan in surprise. She felt the power of the guardian spirit from the other party. Has this girl awakened the guardian spirit? This force is very weak, it should have just awakened the guardian spirit, and has not tried to communicate for the first time. After the guardian spirit is awakened, the guardian does not have the power of the guardian spirit immediately, but requires the guardian to communicate with the guardian spirit for the first time. This process will last a long time. If the compatibility with the guardian spirit is not strong, the probability of successful communication will be very low and last a long time. Such a person will eventually succeed in gaining the guardian spirit's power, but the ultimate path will not go very far. The strength is not enough to reach the level of confrontation with high-level evil spirits, and can only receive the minimum guarantee from the country to ensure a slightly high-quality life. This is why 7 or 8 of the 10 people can awaken the guardian spirit, but there are not many who can truly become the guardian of the human beings. Yang Qianqun was only slightly surprised at this. She could slightly feel that the guardian spirit of this girl's awakening was not low grade. But she didn't care much about it. At this moment, Yang Qianqun's mind was still thinking about how to test Qin Ming's ability. After 3 days of secret observation, I found that this guy Qin Ming is becoming more and more difficult. The other person always feels unpredictable, but when I look closely, he is completely ordinary. Moreover, Qin Ming's data shows that all 3 awakenings have failed. Such a person can be said to have a rather low awakening aptitude. So, where is the problem? Yang Qianqun tried to break his head and couldn't understand what was going on. He was eating the noodles while thinking about it. At this moment, Xiao Nianzhu walked into the store with a tired face. "Brother, I'm hungry, get me an egg fried rice." Xiao Nianzhu lay tiredly on a table. Seeing this scene, Qin Ming was naturally worried and hurriedly stepped forward and cared. At this time, he was facing Yang Qianqun with his back, and the distance between the 2 tables was very close. Yang Qianqun could see Qin Ming as long as he measured his body. After feeling such a good opportunity, a touch of excitement appeared in Yang Qianqun's eyes. Finally, let me catch the opportunity. At this time Qin Ming was rubbing Xiao Nianzhu's head. "Dead girl, let you read more, not let you read dead books, why are you so, ah. Before he finished speaking, Qin Ming suddenly widened his eyes, covered his butt with both hands, and howled miserably. "Ha ha ha, I finally caught the flaw." Yang Qianqun stood behind him, his face full of smiles after the conspiracy succeeded, like a big boss. At this time, a needle-like instrument was inserted into Qin Ming's buttocks. This was to consolidate the strength of the guardian in the guarding bureau. According to the truth, this thing is used to guard the forearm, and the penetration depth is only 2 or 3 centimeters, but in Qin Ming's body, this thing directly penetrates into the flesh. That's an ecstasy. Qin Ming was actually prepared for a long time, but he didn't want to expose too much in front of Xiao Nianzhu, and he really didn't expect this thing to be used in this way. "Ever since I was recruited." Qin Ming clutched his butt, took the instrument off, turned and looked at Yang Qianqun viciously. "You are too much," Qin Ming shouted through gritted teeth. Yang Qianqun naturally didn't care about Qin Ming's roar, so he appeared beside him and picked up the instrument that Qin Ming had thrown on the table. Just as she was about to check the above values, suddenly Guangganao heard a stern alarm. Suddenly, Yang Qianqun's complexion changed drastically, and he rushed out of the hotel regardless of him, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Crazy, this woman must be crazy. Qin Ming was clutching his ass, and the place where he was stabbed still felt painful. Aside, Xiao Nianzhu watched this scene in shock. "Brother, you can be considered to be stunned now." Suddenly, Xiao Nianzhu smiled in surprise. Qin Ming glared at the girl. "What's opening up and not getting around? You have been single for so many years, and now you don't have a girlfriend, and you don't even have much contact with the opposite gender. Now, okay, the relationship has gone so well in just a few days." Xiao Nianzhu covered her mouth and chuckled. Her eyes kept looking towards the door, obviously she was talking about Yang Qianqun. Qin Ming glared again at the girl Nianzhu, then rushed into the storage room, and soon he came out with a small blackboard. After eloquently wrote a sentence, he put the small blackboard directly at the door of the store. Xiao Nianzhu looked curiously, and suddenly the corners of her mouth twitched. "Yang Qianqun and dogs are not allowed inside. Let's say that Yang Qianqun rushed out of the hotel because the guarding bureau was attacked and there were still a large number of evil spirits attacked, at least thousands of them. This is something that has never happened before. Sun Shohang was so angry that he was guarding the bureau, and he was hit by evil spirits. If he let the people above know about it, he wouldn't have to continue doing it. At this time, Sun Shohang was anxiously commanding the guardian to fight against the evil spirits, and at the same time he also went out of the game. Under the blessing of the violent state of anger, Sun Shohang was really the god blocking the killing of the gods and Buddhas. At the top of a building not far away, two black figures are standing above it. Sister, can you really do this method? Huo Shusho was a little worried. Isn't this irritating the public? It is really troublesome if it is really urgent. Huo Qingqing said with a sullen face, if it wasn't for my strength, and didn't reply, do you think I want to do this? These evil spirits are already the limit I can get. If I change to my previous strength and just move my fingers, God of War level evil spirits can drown this place. As if thinking of something, Huo Qingqing became more and more angry, and his eyes became more brutal and fierce. Now two have appeared. After the other one appears, you find a suitable opportunity to show up to attract firepower, and I will get things out. Huo Qingqing said. Aside, Huo Shusho's eyes widened. Sister, are you my relatives? You let me do such a dangerous thing. If you can't beat you, can't you run? With your sister and my strength, you can take things out without using it enough grace. Huo Qingqing hated that iron cannot be made of steel. At this moment, a figure with fiery red hair suddenly fell to the ground, launching a fierce attack on the surrounding evil spirits. It's now, do it. In an instant, Huo Qingqing's body disappeared. Ah hey, let me go alone. Huo Shusho gritted her teeth in resentment, but she didn't get any response. She had no choice but to bite the bullet and rush down. At this time, the offensive at the gate of the guarding bureau had been completely contained, and the addition of Yang Qianchen made the situation much better. This woman is extremely strong, her hands are wrapped in fiery red flames, and flames erupt continuously between the waves, but all the evil spirits affected by the flames die instantly. Among the thousands of evil spirits, there are even 5 God of War class evil spirits. From the beginning of the attack to the present, 2 of them have been strongly killed by Sun Shohang, and the remaining 3 are wandering around, waiting for opportunities. Just as the situation was almost under control, when the guarding bureau was preparing to counterattack, a monstrous black aura suddenly enveloped the entire sky. Then, in the black breath, a charming woman dressed in coolness appeared. Who, at this time, Sun Shohang had been burned through his heart with anger, and he only wanted to kill these evil spirits. The moment Huo Shusho appeared, he looked up at the opponent. When he found that the opponent was surrounded by black air, Sun Shohang immediately understood that this was the man behind the scenes. Regardless of 3 or 721, Sun Shohang roared straight into the sky. Die me! Huo Shusho, who had just appeared on the stage to attract firepower to buy time, was taken aback. She was not ready to speak harshly. Why did Sun Shohang rush directly? This is not in line with the script arrangement. Don't allow Huo Shusho to think too much. Sun Shohang has already come to the front, holding the long sword condensed by spirit power in his hand, aiming at Huo Shusho's heart as a sword. It's not a soft persimmon to be an old lady. Huo Shusho snorted coldly, and shook it casually, and a pitch-black whip with countless barbs blew in the air. After blocking Sun Shohang's attack, Huo Shusho danced his whip and fought against Sun Shohang in the air. On the other side, the 3 God of War level evil spirits also saw the time and rushed directly to Yang Qianchen and Song Tiandong. The battle became anxious in an instant. At this time, in the corridor inside the guarding bureau, Huo Qingqing stood in it with squinted eyes. What kind of ghost layout is this special? I obviously feel the breath near here, but why can't I find it? Huo Qingqing had a terrible headache. She had never seen modern facilities, let alone guarding the intricate layout of the bureau. After rushing in, she would not find the target for a while. However, the Demon King is the Demon King after all. In less than 10 seconds, her mind covered the entire building and easily found the laboratory. Boom! Kicked the door of the laboratory open with a kick. Huo Qingqing rushed into it, and she saw a black crystal placed in a precision instrument. In Huo Qingqing's seriousness, the black crystals are now emitting bursts of dazzling light. Fortunately, my strength has recovered a bit. Now, I can take you away. Huo Qingqing gave a faint smile, smashed the instrument and grabbed the black crystal. Suddenly, She felt a fiery tingling in her palms, but fortunately, she had regained her strength crazily these days and swallowed a few powerful evil spirits, otherwise, she would not be able to touch this crystal at all. This is why she left the crystal in the ruins before, because she was too weak when she just awakened, let alone touch. She would suffer severe pain when she was close to a certain distance. After getting the things, Huo Qingqing directly rushed out of the guarding bureau, but as soon as she rushed out, she was dumbfounded. Thousands of evil spirits that she gathered from outside were almost killed at this time. According to the original plan, Huo Shusho should delay the three of Sun Shohang for a certain amount of time. But at this time, where is Huo Shusho? Who? You are so blind, such a strong atmosphere of evil, this guy is not a human at all, okay. What are you doing in a daze? Can't let her run away. Many guardians around were taken a bit startled by this scene, and the moment they reacted, they rushed towards Huo Qingqing. Among them, Sun Shohang and Song Tiandong are the most active. Sun Shohang was the cause of the anger, but Song Tiandong wanted to perform well in front of everyone. Seeing this scene, Huo Qingqing's face turned blue. Huo Shusho, my old lady will never end with you. Huo Qingqing immediately ran away. Although she has recovered a lot of strength and can deal with these three people, it will definitely cause old injuries, which is extremely unfavorable for her. Because by then the black crystal can't be touched and absorbed again, not to mention, there are still a few guys who are worried about own chasing, can't let her run away. What happened to the East Sea City Guarding Bureau was so shocking that the news was directly suppressed, and Qinming naturally didn't know about it. At this time he is busy dealing with many students. Because Liao Shishi and others had tasted how delicious Qinming's food was before, they went back and advertised for Qinming. In addition, Liao Shishi, Tang Zhenbei and others are now stars of Tunghai University, but they have a lot of influence. Under their recommendation, the business in Qinming Hotel has improved a lot in the past few days. At this time, most of the restaurants were already full of people. Although the business came to make money, Qinming quickly got down tired. It was only then that he realized how naive he was at the time. It was really too late to cook so many meals by himself. Sending away table after table of guests, Su Qingyuan, the girl was also busy sweating profusely, squatting at the door with her face flushed. Because of the awakening of the guardian spirit these few days, she is still in a weak state, and she is too tired to work. After all, her body can't bear it. Fortunately, there are not many guests at this time. Are you okay? Xiao Nianzhu leaned aside. After the two have communicated during this period, there is a lot of relationship between them. Coincidentally, the two are still in the same class, so they are inseparable good girlfriends in the school. Su Qingyuan was slightly tired. It's okay, it's just too weak. Well, I have read a lot of books these days, and your situation is normal. Xiao Nianzhu nodded, and then looked towards the sky. Hey, I don't know if I have a chance to awaken the guardian spirit. You must have a chance. You seem to meet all the awakening conditions mentioned in the book. Xiao Nianzhu didn't say a word. The matter of awakening the guardian spirit has taken root in her heart long ago, and this is all due to Qinming's unremitting efforts. She knows that her brother is looking forward to using the guardian spirit, not because the guardian spirit will be awakened, but because she can enjoy the subsistence allowance given by the country, so that the life of the two brothers and sisters will improve. Qin Nianzhu felt sore in her eyes when she thought of this. Brother, for me, he must be very tired. The little girl murmured in her heart. And where Nianzhu couldn't detect it, a weak force was slowly beginning to emerge. A force was so weak that even Qinming couldn't detect it. If someone who came by could discover this, he would definitely be shocked. Because this is the precursor of the guardian spirit's awakening. After busying for a long while, I finally got free. Qinming sat in the doorway smoking a cigarette full of oily smoke, thinking about whether he should find a cook to help. Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering the event task. Recruitment. Recruiting 5 staff for the Shenling Hotel. 100,000 credits for completion of the task, a large gift package for the first stage. Current number of staff, 15. Qinming's pupils shrank. Could this also trigger the task? He just thought about it in his heart. The system is really a system, omnipotent. Qinming sighed silently. Although there are tasks to do, he can get a lot of rewards after completion, which is a good thing. But the problem also followed, especially now that Beiming Street has become a forbidden area for ordinary people. Although Qin has solved the root of the problem, no spirit body has appeared recently. But the bad name here will eventually be irremovable for a while. Now let's not talk about hiring people. These few guests can come because of the appeal of star students like Liao Shishi, and the people who come are all students of the Guardian Academy. Not only are they not afraid of evil spirits, but they also look forward to seeing evil spirits every day. People. Qin suddenly felt a headache. I can't call evil spirits to work, right? Qin sighed. But immediately, he raised his head sharply. This seems to be a way out. Right now he looked at 10 rolls of parchment in the system space. Master-servant contract. A master-servant contract can be signed with any creature, and the creature must not violate the wishes of the host, and the host can control the life and death of the servants through divine consciousness. Before, Qin felt that this thing was a bit difficult, and he didn't need to force others to become his servant. But thinking about it now, this thing is not for him to use on humans at all. It is clear that he can do something against evil spirits. In an instant, Qin narrowed his eyes filled with excitement. It seems that something has been done tonight. At about 11 o'clock in the evening, the entire Beiming Street was very quiet. It was quiet enough during the day. At this time, the needle drop was even more audible. A figure was leaning against the wall and breathing continuously. It was Huo Qingqing, who evaded tracking for a short time. She held a black crystal tightly in her hand, feeling the terrifying power contained in the crystal, and the corners of her mouth raised an arc. HMPH, stupid human beings, if it weren't for regaining strength as soon as possible, I would have killed you all. At the thought of what he had experienced in the previous 2 hours, Huo Qingqing was tickled with anger, and the devilish energy in his body rioted uncontrollably. She, the dignified ruling demon king, was actually chased and killed by 3 weak humans for 2 to 3 hours. This is simply a shame. If the strength of those 3 people were placed hundreds of years ago, she would be able to kill them easily with a sneeze. What made Huo Qingqing even more angry was that he was sold by his own relative, little sister. Until now, she didn't bother to contact Huo Shusho. This girl actually escaped. HMPH, you were unkind first, don't blame me for being unkind. Huo Qingqing gritted his teeth and said, human beings, give me 7 days. After 7 days, I want this city to be a waste of life. At this time, the devil's hideous minions gradually revealed. On the other side, Qin is slowly walking down the street with a cigarette in his mouth, and he is constantly looking for evil spirits. Now that you have developed a new idea, you have to give it a try. Although evil spirits are rare in East Sea City, they are also idle. 3 big brothers, if you find anything, remember to tell me. Qin said indifferently in his heart. Inside his body, the huge Beiming Kunpeng in the sea of darkness rolled his eyes extremely, difficult, and a big eye. God knows, such a huge body, eyes the size of a small car, rolling your eyes is a waste of energy. What's more, the Kunpeng clan has been synonymous with laziness since the birth of heaven and earth. After Qin felt Beiming Kunpeng's actions, he was also speechless. Boy, don't you think your current behavior is boring? An indifferent voice came from Qin mind. It was the sacred beast Bei's lion. At this time, shouldn't you just rush into the so-called different dimensional space and grab a few demon kings? Qin also rolled his eyes. I don't think I can pass through the entrance as small as a fist. Speaking of it, it was only a day ago that he discovered that the guardian spirit of On could actively communicate with himself, although he had never communicated with the guardian spirit before. Because he doesn't need it at all. If the system is shot, it must be a direct integration of all the strengths. Why does Qin need to communicate with the guardian spirit? Later, I didn't know if it was because the guardian spirits were too boring, so they took the initiative to chat with Qin, and then the current situation occurred. Qin directly acted as a handshaker, letting the 3-headed guardian spirit help find the target, and he slowly went shopping. Not long after leaving, Qin eyes suddenly brightened because Bei's lion told him that he had found a good target. Not only that, but also controlled the opponent. At this time, in the alley, Huo Qingqing was full of horror. She was imprisoned in place by a certain powerful existence, and the only thing she could do was blink. She could do nothing else. What's the matter? How could this be? how could I encounter such a terrifying existence? Huo Qingqing kept thinking in her heart, I don't seem to have offended this kind of existence, right? Could it be that the other party also fell in love with this crystal? Will that one snatch the god crystal, and then kill someone? If he sees my beauty, doesn't it mean that I can only become, B? Huo Qingqing really thought about this matter more and more crookedly, and could not help but flush with humiliation on his face, but after all, it was extremely terrifying to be targeted by such an existence. Time passed by 1 minute and 1 second, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The existence that imprisoned himself never showed up, which made Huo Qingqing more nervous and frightened. Nowadays, no matter what the intention of that person exists, Huo Qingqing can't bear the ever-increasing fear in his heart. This is the threat from death. She finally understood why the other party was reluctant to show up, just to use this method to completely overwhelm her mind. It seems that her guess is correct, and she is likely to become the plaything of existence. Thinking of this, Huo Qingqing couldn't help but leave tears of fear and regret. I don't know how long it took, and finally, a person appeared in front of Huo Qingqing. Oh roar, still an old acquaintance. A familiar voice came, and Huo Qingqing suddenly looked up, and suddenly, the expression on his face was very wonderful. The last thing Huo Qingqing wants to see are two people. The first is Sun Shouheng, who has been chasing her for several hours. This guy is like a dog's skin plaster, sticking to her. If it weren't for Huo Qingqing, he couldn't stand it anymore. He used a method to track him more. Otherwise, she is still being hunted down. And the second person was Qinming in front of him. It can be said that Qinming has been since she woke up. No, it should be the most powerful creature she has seen since the beginning of her birth. From Qinming's breath, she knew that this was not an existence she could resist. Huo Qingqing had never thought of seeing Qinming again, so when the two met, the expression on Huo Qingqing's face was shocked and terrified. At this time, she knew what kind of existence she was imprisoned here. Needless to say, it must be Qinming in front of her. The only thing that puzzled her was why Qinming had come so far away. In fact, Qinming didn't take Huo Qingqing to heart at all. When he knew that Bei's lion had controlled the opponent, he slowly walked towards here like a walk. For a distance of about 1 kilometer, Qinming walked for a full 20 minutes. At this time, Qinming did not expect that the person imprisoned by Bei's lion was Huo Qingqing. I have to say that this world is really small. Everything is fate. When I saw Huo Qingqing before, Qinming hadn't looked at each other very carefully. At this moment, the two stood facing each other, only to realize that this woman was quite beautiful. At least so far, Qinming has not seen a woman more beautiful than Huo Qingqing. After feeling Qinming's gaze, Huo Qingqing subconsciously swallowed. Could it be that the guess in her heart came true? It's a coincidence that I have to say, since everything is due to fate, it's up to you. Qinming nodded. Ask you a question, can you cook? Huo Qingqing's head went down for a while, and she didn't understand what Qinming meant when she asked herself that. The two big Shui Lingling eyes were extremely confused. Big. Sir, I can do everything, cook and clean, and warm the bed, please don't kill me. Huo Qingqing begged extremely humbly, and at the same time, her face was flushed with shame. As the ruling demon, she had never been so humble in her life. But in the face of Qinming, she didn't say anything about resisting, and she didn't even have this idea. Apart from anything else, the fact that she was imprisoned by Qinming at this time and couldn't move, was enough to prove that she could not escape Qinming's palm. For a while, Huo Qingqing had already started to make up for Qinming's own purpose. In their place, the strong had too many methods to deal with the weak, and there were many goals. The two were of opposite gender. At this time, Qinming looked at him with up and down eyes. Huo Qingqing knew that Qinming had captured himself as a bed warmer without even thinking about it. Suddenly, despair filled my heart. It was Qinming Yila. Not bad, but the desire to survive is quite strong. Such an evil spirit with a strong desire to survive and seemingly quite obedient, with good strength, Qinming could not find a reason to refuse. Then he took out a roll of parchment. The moment Huo Qingqing saw the thing, her eyes widened. Although she didn't know what it was, she felt a terrifying pressure. This coercion was directly acting on the soul, and she felt a fear that originated from the soul. Now, I am a very reasonable person. Qin Ming put the parchment in front of Huo Qingqing. I never force others to do anything. This, you can consider signing or not signing the labor contract. After signing it, there are many benefits, so I won't give them one by one. You outlined it. Of course, it doesn't matter if you don't sign, you have all the options in your hands. Seeing the very sunny smile on Qin Ming's face, Huo Qingqing didn't know what it was like to scold Qin Ming. Dare to be more shameless. Does she have a choice? Anyone with a discerning eye knows that if you don't sign this special, the result will be death. She was not so sad and miserable as she was dead, especially when she saw Qin Ming's expression. She probably understood in her heart that if she didn't sign, something impossible might happen before she died. The Devil Lord, who was full of interplay, finally had tears in his eyes and pressed a bloody handprint on the sheepskin scroll. A strange feeling rose in Huo Qingqing's soul, as if his own soul was trapped by an invisible yoke. At the same time, deep in her heart, she was angry with the thought that she should not disobey any order of the person in front of her. Once this is done, the consequences will be serious. After watching Huo Qingqing sign the contract, Qin Ming smiled contentedly. He also felt the changes in the depths of his soul. As if he could decide the life and death of Huo Qingqing with a single thought. This feeling is amazing. Relax, I'm a very benevolent boss. You seem to have no place to live, right? Qin Ming smiled and looked at Huo Qingqing. Huo Qingqing nodded slowly, and at the same time had lost any thoughts of struggling. She was thinking about how she would be bullied by Qin Ming in a moment. Don't worry, when I work here, food and accommodation are included, and the salary is not low. For now, I will give you a trial salary of 2,500 credits for a month. If you perform well, you can get a regular salary in advance. As Qin Ming said, he lit a cigarette for himself and walked outside. Huo Qingqing followed behind him with a full face of tears and tears. At this moment, there was only one sentence left in his heart. Sure enough, human beings are not good things. If you want to bully me, just say it, why bother to find so many reasons? Of course, Qin Ming naturally didn't know what Huo Qingqing was thinking. He had already begun to figure out how to instruct this allure woman to learn cooking. It didn't take long for the two of them to walk into the yard. Looking at the bare soil and the peculiar style of small buildings, Huo Qingqing actually felt good in his heart. But immediately she threw the idea away. She thought that she was simply unlucky at home, and the dignified demon king was actually reduced to a human servant, but due to Qin Ming's strength, Huo Qingqing could only swallow his anger temporarily. Leading Huo Qingqing into the small building, she got a spacious room on the 3rd floor. Qin Ming yawned and dragged Huo Qingqing into it. Well, he was a little tired after tossing all night. Huo Qingqing seemed to have anticipated something that would happen later. At this time, his face was blushing and his body was hot. Big. Sir, I have never done anything like this before. Can you be gentle? Enduring the strong sense of shame in his heart, Huo Qingqing blushed, clasped his fingers, buried his head in his chest, and spoke softly. Huo Qingqing understood that he did not have the slightest resistance in front of Qin Ming. Rather than revolting and then letting Qin Ming rude his hands, it's better to just obediently follow the opponent, so that not only would he suffer less skin suffering, it would also give Qin Ming a good impression. In this way, the other party will not kill himself. Have you never done such a thing? Hearing Huo Qingqing's words, Qin Ming also nodded. Well, don't worry, I had expected it a long time ago. Huo Qingqing was even more shocked. Is it really a horrible existence? Next, is it about to start? But it doesn't matter, I'm an expert in this aspect. I don't know how many people are immersed in my technology and can't extricate themselves. Qin Ming said triumphantly. We can learn if you haven't done it before. As long as your head is not made of wood, you can learn it, and it will take longer. Huo Qingqing smiled and smiled. It seemed that she was right, this terrifying existence really liked her appearance. But also, own strength is basically an ant in front of the opponent, and can be valued by the opponent. What else can there be besides this? She kept admonishing herself in her heart that these were only temporary, and at the same time she had an escape plan in her heart. Afterwards, Huo Qingqing slowly closed his eyes, his body stiff and tense. She knew that she would not like what was about to happen next, but in order to survive, she could only endure the humiliation. However, after a while, the imaginary thing did not happen. Instead, there was the sound of the room door being closed. In an instant, Huo Qingqing opened his eyes, and there was Qin Ming's figure in front of him. This guy had already left. Huo Qingqing was full of doubts, but quickly reacted. Although nothing like that happened now, she knew that this would happen sooner or later. Hey, it's really hard to guess the mind of a big man. Now she can only be a canary in a cage, and can do nothing else. Turned around and took a look at the layout of the room. It was simpler, gray sheets, gray quilts, a desk and a wardrobe, nothing else. He pressed the mattress with his hand, it was very soft, and after sitting on it, Huo Qingqing felt comfortable and sleepy. God knows what her life is like these past few days, either running away or hiding. But she didn't dare to sleep, because the big guy couldn't say anything bad, and everything now was just testing herself. If she falls asleep when she comes in at night, the experience for the other party is not very good, and her life may be lost. Ever since, lying on the bed, Huo Qingqing opened his eyes wide, and stayed in this way for the whole night. In the morning, after Xiao Nianzhu went downstairs, she found that there was another woman in her house, a woman with a perfect figure and a beautiful face. Suddenly, the girl's eyes almost popped out, but within 3 seconds, she changed from shock at the beginning to joy, and her brother was fine. With Yang Qianqin, let's not say, now there is such a beautiful woman again, and she is still going home, the method is really not bad. It happened that Qin Ming walked out of the kitchen with breakfast. Xiao Nianzhu leaned forward and showed Qin Ming's eyes that I knew. Qin Ming was stunned by this girl. What kind of bells and whistles the dead girl is doing, let me introduce you. What is your name? Qin Ming suddenly became embarrassed. He actually forgot to ask last night. Huo Qingqing, who was sitting on the sofa, was also full of black lines, but still showed a smile. My name is Huo Qingqing. The exchange between Qin Ming and Huo Qingqing directly made Xiao Nianzhu dumbfounded, and could not tolerate her thinking. Qin Ming had already introduced herself for her. In wonder, Xiao Nianzhu turned around and went to school after eating breakfast. And Qin Ming was not idle, and brought Huo Qingqing to the Shenling Hotel across the road. At this time, Chen Gui had already opened the hotel. When he saw Qin Ming coming in with a beautiful woman, he almost stared blankly. This is Huo Qingqing, our new apprentice chef in our restaurant. Qin Ming introduced the two to each other, and then led Huo Qingqing into the back kitchen. Behind the counter, Chen Guiden sat on a chair and sighed. Sure enough, my craft is still not good. Hey, in this world, is it only Brother Niu who understands me? No, next time I see Niu Junda, I must use my life's strength to make him a bowl of noodles. Somewhere, Niu Junda, who had just walked out of his huge mansion, sneezed for no reason. Wei, which beauty is thinking of me in the morning? Niu Junda touched his nose, feeling very good for a while, and started a day of patrol. In the back kitchen of the Shenling restaurant, Qin Ming briefly explained some precautions, and then began to teach Huo Qingqing how to prepare and cook dishes. Huo Qingqing opened his eyes wide and was shocked. Feelings, you really tied me back to cook. However, she was still terrified in her heart and kept learning the cooking skills taught by Qin Ming. At the same time, she was shocked to find that she was standing next to Qin Ming, and she actually felt a stream of pure yin air flowing towards her continuously. She had never seen such a pure yin qi in her entire life, and it was even stronger and purer than the yin qi in the black crystal. She has a hunch that as long as she stays with Qin Ming for 3 days, all her injuries will recover, and her strength will reach its heyday. Sure enough to be a big man, it is so extraordinary, this is an opportunity. Huo Qingqing was secretly excited. If his strength can be restored, then the plan to break away from Qin Ming might really succeed. But before that, she must swallow her breath and try her best. Having said that, the yin qi exuding from Qin Ming's body is really pure. Guard the bureau. The 3 God of War class powerhouses who had been exhausted all night returned to the office. The 3 of them rummaged through the entire East Sea city last night, but they still couldn't find Huo Qingqing. The 3 of them were really angry. Especially Sun Shouhang. This guy believes that Huo Qingqing secretly instructed these evil spirits to attack the guarding bureau. Even though this is the case, he desperately wanted to capture Huo Qingqing alive. But the three of them couldn't catch up with Huo Qingqing, let alone capture them alive. Although Huo Qingqing does not have the strength to face the three directly, but after so many years of life, as the ruling demon, will these methods be available? It is naturally easy to escape these people from hunting down. What can be expected now is that Huo Qingqing disappeared, with that mysterious black crystal disappeared. The three of them were exhausted, and they didn't know what Yang Qianqun was thinking, so they suddenly spoke. By the way, I recently discovered a delicious restaurant. Going to have a meal together. Puff. Sun Shouheng, who was drinking tea to quench his thirst, sprayed a sip of water on Song Tiandong's face. Song Tiandong's face was covered with black lines, indicating that he was very innocent. Then both of them looked at Yang Qianqun with twitching corners of their eyes. You're crazy, where are you in the mood to eat at this time? Sun Shouheng said in a huff. This time the Guardian Bureau was attacked by evil spirits. I still don't know how to deal with me. Maybe I don't have to do this position. Are you embarrassed to say how to eat? Hearing Sun Shouheng's words, Song Tiandong reacted the most. He directly opened his eyes and looked at Sun Shouheng, his eyes filled with excitement. Sun Shouheng glared at him and said, don't think about it, even if daddy doesn't sit in this seat won't be your turn. Suddenly Song Tiandong wilted again. I saw Yang Qianqun calmly said, anyway, things have happened, and besides some financial and construction losses, the most serious injury is just a serious injury. But this is especially about the human face. Sun Shouheng stood up suddenly. Yang Qianqun sneered. Cut, if you want to say that, where the entire city is destroyed due to animal tides or spiritual riots, those guards shouldn't even do it. Things can't be said like this, right? Besides, this situation is not something we can deal with. East Sea City is remote and weak. There are only 3 of us god of war in the whole city. Where can we deal with it? How evil. Also, what the headquarters has said is to send strong people over to help. It's been almost half a month, and I haven't seen any strong people. We have been able to sustain it so far. It is a very good performance, although it is a little irresponsible to say that, but, we have done our best. After being analyzed by Yang Qianqun, Sun Shouheng squinted his eyes and felt the same reason. After all, the woman Huo Qingqing has disappeared now, and they couldn't find it after looking for it all night, and the hope of finding it in the future is also slim. As the saying goes, do everything to do with your destiny. I think it's good to have a meal. It just so happened that you haven't invited us to dinner for a long time, Song Tiandong instigated. Sun Shouheng's complexion turned blue. You dog still has the face to say, how many times will daddy be slaughtered by you in which month? Yang Qianqun waved his hand and said, okay, let me treat you. In the end, under Yang Qianqun's 3-inch tongue, the other 2 were successfully fooled. Anyway, everything happened. If it is to be punished, it is to be punished after all. Why don't you have a loose meal first? No, eat a meal to fill your stomach. At this moment, Yang Qianqun suddenly thought of what he did to Qinming yesterday, and hurriedly took out the testing instrument from his pocket. Looking through the records, she raised her eyebrows. The value display on the instrument is 0. This proves that the opponent does not have the slightest guardian spirit in his body, and that he is completely an ordinary person. But this shouldn't be. What are you doing with this instrument? Song Tiandong asked curiously. Yang Qianqun waved casually. It's nothing, I'm starving to death. Throwing the instrument on the table casually, the 3 of them rushed out of the office. The goal was obvious, the Shenling Hotel. What Yang Qianqun didn't know was that when she pierced the instrument into Qin Ming's ass to get the value soared at that moment, and it instantly reached the limit of measurability. Subsequently, the measuring instrument was directly exploded. If she tests herself now, she will find that there is also no value displayed. Not long after, the 3 of them came to the door of the hotel in a hurry. Looking at the guilt sign hanging on the door of the hotel, the other 2 were stunned. Good fellow, the owner of this store is very courageous, so dare Shenling Hotel to start. Song Tiandong exclaimed. Sun Shouheng changed his words. You are in charge of the house, but after all, the decoration style of this place is pretty good. Just as the 3 of them were about to walk into it, Sun Shouheng suddenly noticed that there was a small blackboard at the door. He leaned forward to take a look, and suddenly couldn't help but burst into laughter. The laughter attracted Yang Qianqun. When she saw the words on the blackboard, her face turned black. Chin Ming, get out of my mother. The back chef poked out a head, and when he found out that it was Yang Qianchen, a mad woman, his brows were frowned. Why did you come in? Didn't you see the sign hanging at the door? Speaking of this, Yang Qianchen was furious, wishing to slap the dog Chin Ming to death. You actually compare me to a dog? Yang Qianchen gritted his teeth. Chin Ming was taken aback, and then became clear, it seems to be a bit too much. Xiao Su, go to the door and give the dog that says on the sign. Boom. Yang Qianchen finally couldn't bear it, and almost smashed the counter with a slap. Why, Ben Miss is not as good as a dog now, right? Now, you said it yourself, I didn't say it. You. Yang Qianchen's eyes almost burst out with fire, and she really wanted to crush Chin Ming right now. It seems that you two have a good relationship. Tisk tisk tisk, it's really rare to see someone who can have a good relationship with you. Sun Shoheng didn't care about this, he just sat in his chair and looked through the menu. Yang Qianchen was dumbfounded in place. Hey, when were you blind? Where do you see that I have a good relationship with him? Yang Qianchen glared at Chin Ming angrily. He sat in a chair and grabbed the menu. After ordering a few dishes, he sat there, looking at the decoration of the restaurant, and discussing the next layout plan while taking advantage of his leisure time. There are so many things happening in Donghai City now, it is not unremarkable, and the above is always paying attention to this side. At the same time, because the situation on the East Sea City is indeed not so good, the headquarters has also dealt with what happened here leniently, and Sun Shoheng has not been punished for dismissal. After giving a verbal admonishment, the headquarters said that it would send someone to support it, and it would be there in as little as 3 days. Upon hearing this news, the three of them finally breathed a sigh of relief. Having support means that the current situation can be relieved a lot. While the three of them were chatting, a figure with a grieving face came over with a plate. The visitor was Huo Qingqing, who was temporarily serving as a waiter. As early as when the three of them came to the entrance of the hotel, she had already felt it. The first reaction was to flee quickly, and the province continued to be hunted down. But she soon realized what was going on with her now, she dared to escape. What a joke, even if she turned into a bear, she wouldn't dare to do it. Although I don't know how Chin Ming will deal with her, it is foreseeable that the next city will definitely not be any better. And there was a voice in the depths of her soul telling her. Go with peace of mind, everything is wrong. No way, Huo Qingqing can only bite the bullet and walk forward with the food. As the dinner plate was placed on the table, the three turned to look at Huo Qingqing. For a while, the air in the hotel condensed directly. Chapter 41. Several people stared at them, the air condensed, and the atmosphere was not uncomfortable. Your mother's kiss, Daddy looked for you all night. Sun Shoheng slapped up the table and reached out his hand to grab Huo Qingqing directly. At the same time, Yang Qianchen and Song Tiandong also got up, trying to encircle Huo Qingqing. Upon seeing this, Huo Qingqing reacted in a timely manner. He flashed in an instant and appeared at the door of the back kitchen like a phantom. Evil spirit, dare to hide, Daddy won't catch you alive today, I write my name backwards. Sun Shoheng snorted coldly. Huo Qingqing is also unwilling to show weakness. Ha, a group of stinky fish and shrimps, if it's not because the king's strength hasn't recovered, just rely on a few wastes of you to cry you every minute. Oh, who wouldn't say cruel words, there is a kind of crying me now. Yang Qianchen dismissed it, and the aura exuding from the other party was almost the same as hers. If you really want to start, it's not necessarily who is afraid of whom. In an instant, there seemed to be thunder and lightning flashing in the air, and the momentum of the three people continued to rise. And all this happened in just a few seconds. At this time, Chen Gui, Su Qingyuan, two talents reacted, and immediately frightened and dared not move. Especially Su Qingyuan, this girl had just awakened the guardian spirit, and was oppressed by such a strong aura, her own aura also began to chaotic, almost fainted from exhaustion. Die me! Sun Shoheng roared, and the long sword that appeared in his hands had been aimed at Huo Qingqing's neck. Huo Qingqing snorted coldly, since he can't escape now, let's fight. She raised her hand and easily blocked Sun Shoheng's attack. With a wave of her hand, an extremely ferocious sickle appeared in her hand. The huge ferocious sickle, and the thin beauty, had an extremely exaggerated aesthetic contrast. Wielding the sickle, a black light appeared in the air, and then Huo Qingqing let out an attack with a cold snort. But just as she was about to rush up, an angry scold came from behind. "Daddy, stop it." At this time, Qin Ming was wearing an apron with a small dish in his hand, looking at everyone with scarlet eyes. I don't know why. Anyway, the three people who were about to see Huo Qingqing stopped suddenly and looked at Qin Ming in a daze. "What are you doing? Isn't it demolishing my shop?" Qin Ming gritted his teeth and looked at Yang Qianqin. "You crazy woman, I know you will be fine when you come." "Well, you Qin Ming, I am not making trouble." Yang Qianqin burned with anger. "She is an evil spirit, a very dangerous evil spirit, I am saving you." Hearing this, Huo Qingqing suddenly looked at Qin Ming very weakly, as if telling Qin Ming that he was not dangerous at all. The three of them almost vomited blood when they saw this scene. Unexpectedly, this evil spirit is still a fool. Ahem, this way, why don't everyone stop and sit down and have something to say? Qin Ming gave a dry cough. He naturally knew Huo Qingqing's origins, but he didn't expect that Yang Qianqin's trio reacted like this, and they would start fighting as soon as they met. "Shit, you let me talk to the evil spirits." Sun Shouhang was so angry that if it weren't for Qin Ming's status as an ordinary person, he would have to make big moves directly. HMPH, this king is not comparable to those low-level evil spirits, call me Lord Queen. Huo Qingqing snorted coldly. Yang Qianqin sneered. "Return the queen, see if miss will press you on the ground for a while, can you be so arrogant?" Speaking that Yang Qianqin was about to do something, a fiery red flame burst out of her hand, and the surrounding temperature suddenly rose, and the space was distorted by the terrifying heat. Seeing this scene, Qin Ming's eyes suddenly widened. "Stop it, don't fight in my shop. Then get out." Yang Qianqin snorted coldly. She knew that Qin Ming regarded this restaurant as the lifeblood of her own, and that the baby was tight. Now the situation is quite special, and she doesn't bother to continue entangled with Qin Ming. After Huo Qingqing heard this, he looked at Qin Ming. This action directly made the three of them dumbfounded. At this time, Qin Ming also sighed. "Everyone, listen to me, if we have anything to say, we can sit down and talk." "Shit, this is, okay, I think it's very good to sit down and say this proposal." Song Tiandong just said, but before he finished speaking, he suddenly changed his words. Yang Qianqin on the side, "I second." Sun Shouhang was even more direct, already sitting on the chair. The three of them suddenly changed their attitudes, not because of anything else, but because, just then, a terrifying coercion engulfed the three of them at that moment. They are also masters, and they know what the situation is. That is, there are more terrifying existences here. But it was obviously not Qin Ming, because they didn't feel any fluctuations in Qin Ming. Then there is only one left, Huo Qingqing. Although the three of them were sitting in their seats, the eyes looking at Huo Qingqing were already very solemn. Unexpectedly, this woman's strength is so terrifying that we can't deal with it at all. Sun Shouhang was shocked in his heart. He had completely believed that Huo Qingqing had caused the fluctuations. In the face of such an existence, he had no resistance at all. Not only Sun Shouhang, but the other two also felt the same way. Fortunately, the three of them didn't fight each other thoroughly. Yang Qianqin took a vicious look at Huo Qingqing, and said in his heart, "This fool actually pretends to be a pig and eat a tiger." Thinking of the cruel words she had put before, she couldn't help but flushed. Seeing the three of them in such a state, Huo Qingqing roughly understood what was going on. It was estimated that Qin Ming, the real boss, secretly made the shot. Moreover, it seemed that Qin Ming didn't seem to let people know his strength. Suddenly, Huo Qingqing had a guess in his heart. This hidden boss doesn't like high key, but low key. In an instant she understood how to please Qin Ming, that is to sit in the position for granted. Not only that, Huo Qingqing's face was full of sneers. "Why are you sitting down? Didn't you just say you want to fight a game?" Sun Shouhang coughed embarrassingly. "I'm giving the boss face. After all, this is someone's restaurant. You won't lose money after the relationship breaks, right? Although I don't know why this woman is so powerful, but she doesn't do anything with them, but at this time, it is better to sit quietly." Huo Qingqing snorted coldly, borrowing the donkey to say nothing. Qin Ming looked at Huo Qingqing and nodded to himself, this woman is quite sensible. After seeing all four of them sitting down, Qin Ming put the plate in his hand on the table. That's right, what's the matter to sit down and say, how good is peace and love? Qin Ming said calmly, everyone is full of black lines, the ghost is in peace and love with you. If it weren't because Huo Qingqing was so terrifying, how could they sit down and talk? Anything that breaks the hotel to lose money is an excuse, and the guarding bureau is not short of this amount of money. Huo Qingqing sneered and watched them pretend. HMPH, fortunately, you are humans. If it is another existence, maybe this one will directly let you disappear into this world. She has not been in contact with Qin Ming soon, although she did not understand what kind of character Qin Ming is, but Huo Qingqing understands that this terrifying boss must be a moody person. After all, the boss has such a temperament. It's invincible in the world, and it doesn't matter what those minutiae are doing, just do it if you don't like it. If Qin Ming knew Huo Qingqing's thoughts, he would definitely sigh and hold the other party to preach. Besides, after all four of them sat down, Qin Ming began to play the role of peacemaker. 3. To tell you, she is an employee of my store. Qin Ming said calmly. Since you are a boss, you have an obligation to deal with some things that employees can't handle. Do you think I'm right? The three of Yang Qianqin were dumbfounded. The eyes kept walking around Qin Ming and Huo Qingqing, the expressions in those eyes were obviously looking at an idiot. Dage, this is an evil spirit, a terrible evil spirit. Yang Qianqin was stunned, and at the same time stretched out his gestures. Have you seen the sickle as long as this? This woman does not blink but kills people and eats people without salt. Do you dare to let her be your employee? Speaking of this, Qin Ming called bitterness in his heart. You think Daddy is willing? If it weren't for the fact that there were no living people in Hyoming Street who were willing to come to work, would he let an evil spirit come to work in the shop? It's fine if the people who come are ordinary people. After all, ordinary people can't detect the existence of evil spirits, but what if they are the guardians? The current situation is a good example, the two sides almost went straight to work. Fortunately, Qin Ming managed to calm these people in secret. Otherwise, the hotel he had painstakingly built might be torn down directly, and losing money would be a trivial matter. He is afraid that because of this, the own event mission will fail, and this one will not be worth the loss. Fortunately, the current situation is still within an acceptable range. Afterwards, Qin Ming said slowly, don't worry, she is already in good health. The three were dumbfounded. When Huo Qingqing heard Qin Ming's words, he immediately nodded frantically, and showed an expression on his face that he was a weaker woman. This way, he was even more bitter. Yang Qianqin's teeth tickled, and women's hatred for Bai Kai is definitely greater than that of men. She couldn't wait to grab Huo Qingqing's hair right now, aiming at her face, and twitching fiercely. Look, she said that she would not do bad things anymore. Qin Ming said with a smile. The corners of the three people's mouth twitched, they really wanted to refute, but after thinking of Huo Qingqing's terrifying strength, the three said that they would not move for the time being. The current situation is very clear, Qin Ming definitely doesn't know what he wants, and is controlled by this evil spirit. Yes, exactly. Are you sure she won't mess up? Sun Shouhang said tentatively. Qin Ming nodded. But she led troops to attack the Guardian Bureau yesterday. Song Tiandong said quietly from the side. As soon as he said this, Qin Ming almost dropped his eyes. Good guy, he finally knows why the three of them had to do it directly when they saw Huo Qingqing. Feelings, you hit the old home. What a blood feud. The enemy was extremely jealous when they met, no wonder it was so intense. Ahem, she just got into good form today, why don't you just let the wind go? This time, Qin Ming began to test cautiously. Just kidding, attacking the Guardian Bureau, this is too serious. If he hadn't found an employee with difficulty, or he would hand over Huo Qingqing right away, absolutely without any hesitation. Then she snatched things from the Guardian Bureau yesterday. Yang Qianqin said. Puff. Qin Ming really wanted to vomit blood right now, and his eyes were full of helplessness when he looked at Huo Qingqing. He found something for himself. Ahem, since you have taken other people's things, you can go back. Qin Ming slowly smiled and said, then apologize by the way, so that the attitude of reformation will appear more sincere. As for the attack on the Guardian Bureau, Is there any particularly big loss in the Guardian Bureau, for example, what caused the death? Sun Shohang was taken aback. That's not true. The seriously wounded are fine now, and there is basically no loss. That's good, that's good. Everyone, how can this be considered a farce? I will strictly discipline in the future, and I will never let her go out to do evil. Qin Ming hurriedly spoke. As soon as this statement came out, the three of them were different. Let alone anything else, this evil spirit can obey, can return things to them, and reform. You are making trouble with me. If the evil spirits can rehabilitate, the Sao can climb the tree. Although the three of them hated not believing this, and had made up their minds to eradicate Huo Qingqing, but the other party was too strong, at least it was an emperor-level existence. The three god of war levels added up must not be Huo Qingqing's opponent, and it is better to be silent at this time. However, Yang Qianqin is too courageous. Are you sure she can return the things and reform them? Yang Qianqin raised her eyebrows and questioned her face. She's an evil spirit, that kind of cruel and brainless creature. How can this queen be comparable to those low-level creatures? Believe it or not, the old lady tears your mouth. Huo Qingqing gritted his teeth. Look, what am I talking about? Yang Qianqin hurriedly shouted. At this time, Qin Ming's face sank, and Huo Qingqing felt uncomfortable. He hurriedly revealed a petite and pitiful appearance, and even spoke with a soft voice. Don't worry, I will correct it. The three of them only felt a chill in their hearts. What exactly did this guy want to do? Well, it's good to have this heart. In that case, why don't you give it back to others as soon as you have reformed? Qin Ming nodded. Suddenly, the expressions of the three Sun Shohang became wonderful, and they looked directly at Huo Qingqing. The look was like saying, you have a way to return things, and you will forget about it if you return. Huo Qingqing was caught in entanglement. Give it something. It took her a lot of energy and price to get it, so she was really unwilling to give it out like this. But don't give it. The big guy standing next to him might have killed her directly in a rage. In the final balance, strength and life, she chose the latter. Puff through. A black crystal was thrown on the table, and the three of Sun Shohang were dumbfounded. No, really. The three looked at each other. Is Qin Ming's words so useful? Huo Qingqing looked indifferent and felt relieved. The effect of this thing on her is very simple, that is, it contains extremely pure yin qi, and yin qi is the best cultivation power for their demons. The space where she was before was extremely thin, so pure yin qi was very rare, and it took her a lot of money to compete for things. It was originally for the strength of ascension. But now, she found that the yin qi exuding from Qin Ming's body was stronger and purer than the yin qi in the crystal. It was really the most yin qi in the world. This is a legendary existence. With these yin auras, she didn't need the crystal at all. In that case, she gave it. But the three of Sun Shohang were taken aback, and Sun Shohang, who had always liked analysis, had already begun to analyze in his mind what the situation is now. Well, I'm sure, there must be a conspiracy in it. Yang Qianqin Song Tiandong, full of black lines, good fellow, boss, this kind of character has begun again. Are you sure? Return the things to us. Song Tiandong raised his eyebrows. Without Qin Ming speaking, Huo Qingqing nodded as if smashing garlic, which shocked the three of them. Then what if you grab it again? If she grabs again, don't worry, I will hand her over to you. Qin Ming made a decisive decision and spoke directly. Hiss. The three of them took a cold breath. If the things can really be taken back, the Guardian Bureau will only lose a little face, and it's not a big deal. They didn't lose much when the evil spirits attacked before. It's just incredible that Huo Qingqing is really willing to return things back. The three people felt that there must be something tricky in this, but they couldn't think of a reason why they wanted to break their heads, especially after experiencing the horrible atmosphere of Huo Qingqing before. They did not dare to question face to face. In this way, the three of them walked out of the hotel with all their faces embarrassed. Sun Shohang looked at some hot crystals in his hand, his brows wrinkled like a Sichuan, and he could kill an ant. Do you believe that guy's words? Sun Shohang raised his eyebrows. That guy didn't mean Qin Ming, but Huo Qingqing. After all, this kind of thing came out of the mouth of an evil spirit, which is really unbelievable. What is the existence of evil spirits? That is the existence of murder. It can be said that the greatest enemy of mankind is evil spirits. This kind of guy's words are almost without credibility. If it weren't because the opponent's showed strength was too strong, I'm afraid today is really a life and death situation. Yang Qianqin frowned when he heard the words, believe it or not, so what can you do to beat him? Sun Shouheng's complexion immediately turned red. Although there was a little humiliation in his heart, he could choose to ignore these humiliations in front of his fists. This matter still needs to be reported to the top. I hope they can take a picture of a strong and powerful person. Sun Shouheng said, then turned his head and took a deep look. Inside the hotel, Huo Qingqing looked at Sun Shouheng, snorted coldly, and made a provocative gesture. Sun Shouheng was so angry in his heart. As the boss of the East Sea City Guarding Bureau, had he ever been so provoked by an evil spirit? But there is no way. After all, it is defeated in defeating these three character mantras. The three of them walked back with the crystal, but halfway through, Yang Qianqin suddenly remembered something. Aren't we going to eat? As soon as these words came out, the three fell silent again. With that woman here, it's impossible for them to eat well. At this time, in the back kitchen of the restaurant, Qinming stared at Huo Qingqing quite seriously, but Huo Qingqing was like a kid who did something wrong. He crossed his hands in front of him, lowered his head, and confessed his mistake. Appearance. Qinming was also helpless, who told him that he was really whimsical and found an evil spirit to be an employee. Well, your strength is pretty good. Compared with other evil spirits, what kind of thing are you? Qinming thought for a while and said. Huo Qingqing's heart was almost exploded, and he actually compared himself with those low-level evil spirits. She looked up at Qinming, and wanted to shout angrily. Please call me the queen. However, when he opened his mouth, his voice was soft and sweet. Sir, I am not those evil spirits, I am a higher level of life. On our side, I call it a demon, and a little girl is not talented, so I can barely be regarded as a demon king. Devil. Qinming raised his eyebrows, and then kept looking up and down Huo Qingqing. Just your strength, can you be considered a demon king? As soon as this statement came out, Huo Qingqing was stunned for a moment, and clenched his fists subconsciously, but soon loosened. Is this being despised? I don't want to hide it, something happened before that caused me to be seriously injured. I didn't have any strength. I was sleeping for hundreds of years. I just woke up. So. Qinming was clear. Oh, it turned out to be like this. After thinking about it, Qinming said excitedly, then before you, how strong was your strength in the heyday? Seeing Qinming so excited, Huo Qingqing didn't know why. She always felt that Qinming was looking forward to being strong. Huo Qingqing soon understood that the strength of this adult must be too strong, invincible in the world, and always wanted to find an opponent. Yes, it must be so. Otherwise, when facing Qinming for the first time, she would not have such a sense of fear. Even when facing the devil, Huo Qingqing had never had such a feeling. Immediately, Huo Qingqing smiled bitterly. My lord, my previous prosperous strength is nothing compared to you, it's nothing. What you said is pretty good. Qinming smiled awkwardly, something that he didn't expect to be flattered one day. But seeing Huo Qingqing like this, his previous strength is not much stronger than he thinks. It can be said that this is the only time Huo Qingqing has guessed right out of all the random thoughts so far. Qinming is indeed looking for a strong opponent. After a few shots, the evil spirits he encountered were too weak. The only time he could barely call him an opponent was the humanoid skeleton he had just awakened from the guardian spirit and encountered in the far north. In the end, he only used a little bit of strength to easily kill the thing. What happened later was not even an opponent. Thinking of this, Qinming inevitably sighed in his heart. Invincible, really lonely. However, he just talked about such pretending words in his heart. He doesn't believe that there is no stronger existence in this world than him. Don't be beaten into a bloody forest because of his pretending words. Huo Qingqing keenly noticed a frustration flashing under Qinming's eyes, and realized that he was right. Huo Qingqing's evaluation of Qinming's danger level increased again. Such a lonely boss has an extremely unstable temper. After a while, Qinming shook his head. It seemed that he could not find a good opponent for the time being. As for the macro heavenly demon that I met before, wow, don't be too rubbish. After getting rid of the messy thoughts in his mind, Qinming continued to teach Huo Qingqing his superb cooking skills. As a result, an hour later, he was surprised to find that Huo Qingqing, a girl who was truly talented in cooking. A few dishes were briefly explained once, and after one demonstration, this guy learned quite quickly. In just over an hour, this girl was already able to act as a chef. Although the taste is still a bit worse than my own, there is no problem in general, and I can take on the big responsibility. If Huo Qingqing knows what Qinming's thoughts are in his heart, he may not be able to vomit blood with anger. She is the existence of a demon king. If converted to the level of the human guardian spirit, at least she is very good. If she can't even learn how to cook, she might as well find a piece of tofu and smash it to death. Not bad, I learned quickly. Qinming sighed. Huo Qingqing is very acquainted, without any pretentiousness. It's all adults who teach well. Ha ha ha, the small mouth is also sweet. Yes, I will give you delicious food at night. Qinming smiled mysteriously. But this smile fell in Huo Qingqing's eyes, and the taste changed again. On the surface, it seemed that this woman was respectful to Qinming and really regarded as a master, but in fact, the many guesses about Qinming in her heart had never stopped. Whenever Qinming said a word, or made an action or a look, this woman would imagine thousands of worst results in her heart. For example, this time. Invite me to eat, don't you say? Suddenly, Huo Qingqing's face flushed with shame. She thought of some unsuitable images for children, and for a while she began to worry again. This night, she was afraid that she would experience some devastation. These big guys are really unusual in doing things. He must have raised me up and savored it slowly. Huo Qingqing smiled bitterly in her heart, but she didn't dare to show it, and Qinming didn't even know all her thoughts. Time slowly passed. Su Qingyuan returned with Xiao Nianzu after class in the afternoon. The relationship between the two women is quite good. They talked and laughed, but Su Qingyuan's face looked paler, and her walking pace was a bit floating. Qinming hadn't noticed before, but now he took a closer look and immediately found some problems. This girl, what has the guardian spirit awakened? Qinming wondered to himself. Elder brother. At this time, Xiao Nianzukyun jumped in front of Qinming. I have taken good care of the trees and flowers you showed me the day before yesterday. What do you think of the cherry blossoms? Sakura, this is also good. Qinming nodded. The day before yesterday, because there was really no business in the store, he put his attention in the bare yard, thinking about how to dress up. According to Xiao Nianzu, it was filled with cherry blossoms, which should also be a very good picture. Then the two siblings and a Su Qingyuan, the three began to discuss what to grow in the yard, while Chen Gui and Huo Qingqing studied cooking in the back kitchen. In fact, it was only Chen Gui who was studying it alone. When he learned that Huo Qingqing was already able to act as a chef today, he felt a little painful. Oh, was Xiaomingzi abandoned after all? I originally thought that I was a mud-legged person, and I could do work in the ground. Cooking is a big deal, so Chen Gui can also accept and understand it. But every time he feels frustrated, a picture pops up in his mind. The back of a Pooh wearing a red robe was lying on the table holding a bowl of noodles and stuffing it into his mouth vigorously. Every time Chen Gui thinks of this picture, his heart is ignited with infinite confidence. By the way, why didn't Brother Niu see anyone today? Chen Gui muttered, who was looking at the recipe and studying the cooking skills. Normally, Niu Junda would come here in the morning, at noon, and at night. In the other party's words, he really couldn't find anything to do except patrol. Just as Chen Gui was at a loss, a loud voice came from outside, saying that Cao Cao is here. Niu Junda is wearing a red robe and is coming. Old Qin, you may not believe it, I have done a great job today. Niu Junda walked in and said, and raised his right hand to help the auxiliary treatment equipment. Qinming narrowed his eyes slightly, without thinking, that this guy must have gone to death again. Since Niu Junda single-killed several warlord-level evil spirits, this guy has been fascinated by his own strength, and often challenges things that ordinary people can't. Let alone, this product is also lucky. On a previous patrol with Feng Guan, the two ran into a general-level evil spirit, and they were the first to rush forward and want to hack the evil spirit to death with a sword. As a result, the evil spirit belonged to the anti-beating type, but the existence of the attack damage was not high, and Niu Junda and Feng Guan cooperated to kill it. This gave Niu Junda more courage. At this moment, looking at Niu Junda's appearance with color hanging on his body, Qinming raised his eyebrows and said, "Where did you go to die?" "Haha, it's not enough to talk about death, Lao Qin, I know you are caring about me, but it doesn't matter, as a guardian, I am rushing to the forefront for the important task of protecting mankind." Niu Junda spoke with a sense of mission, but didn't get any attention. Xiao Nianzhu even rolled her eyes. "Hey, aren't you curious what happened to my heavenly stems today?" Niu Junda looked a little disappointed. At this moment, the back chef suddenly rushed out alone. "Isn't it Chen Gui, or who could it be? Have you heavenly stems today?" Chen Gui said with a smile, showing a simple and honest look. As soon as someone spoke, Niu Jundan began to borrow the donkey from Po Sha, and began to explain with joy. It turned out that this guy didn't know how to take the shitluck today. When he first started patrolling in the morning, he found some energy abnormalities. Following the clues, he found a nest where evil spirits gathered. At that time, there were 2 evil spirits wandering around at the door. After the 2 sides met, Niu Junda rushed up to do it, but Feng Guan arrived in time, otherwise he might not just hurt one arm today. It is very possible that he is cold now, and it is the kind that is completely cold. The scene at the time was extremely dangerous, but fortunately, I reacted flexibly and could escape an attack, otherwise you wouldn't see me today. Niu Junda said in fear. Qinming slowly nodded, with a touch of surprise on his face. "Yes, Niu Junda, it is a great blessing for mankind to have the courage of you." Niu Junda's eyes lit up, and his heart was full of satisfaction. He was already hospitalized, but at his own strong request, he was discharged directly and hurried to Qinming. What's the purpose? Isn't it just to listen to Qinming's compliment? In Niu Junda's view, the cheers from thousands of people are not as comfortable as Qinming's words. Ahem, small things and small things, this is what I should do. Niu Junda looked a little embarrassed at this time. Then, relying on the thick skin of the city wall, he squeezed into the conversation of a few people abruptly and gave quite a few suggestions. Of course, Qinming didn't care about a word. He spoils own little sister the most, so he listens to what Xiao Nianzhu says. Xiao Nianzhu likes cherry blossoms, so he goes to get them. In the evening, Niu Junda was rarely left to finish the meal. Originally, this product was going to leave. Qinming said that he would keep it for dinner. He was so touched. In fact, Qinming only felt that by relying on the means of death, it would really be possible to see one side less in the future, and to see more often than not. Qinming deliberately made a large table of dishes. During the meal, he magically did not know where to take out a cake, and Xiao Nianzhu's eyes were suddenly red. Qinming has never forgotten her birthday in recent years. No matter how hard it is, every time Qin Nianzhu's birthday, Qinming will send her birthday wishes and a cake as soon as possible. You must know that during that period, a piece of cake was their life expense for 7 days. Now that life is getting better, Qinming is naturally reluctant to continue to treat this girl badly, and already has a plan to cultivate Bai Fumei in his heart. This night, it can be said that Xiao Nianzhu slept very sweetly. In the living room, Qinming was sitting on the sofa with a cigarette in his mouth. Opposite him, Huo Qingqing was sitting in jeopardy. "You should have a means to block your own breath, right?" Qinming asked. After all, this woman had escaped the frantic pursuit of the 3 Sun Shouheng before, obviously there was a means. Sure enough, Huo Qingqing nodded, and at the same time the cold demonic energy on his body disappeared. If it wasn't for Qinming to feel the power in her body, he would really treat him as an ordinary person. With this method, a lot of trouble can be reduced in the future. After that, Qinming continued to smoke, thinking about the task of recruiting employees before. Now there are 2 employees, and 3 more can complete the task of system release. However, during this period, let alone someone coming for a resume interview, there are not even special consultation people. He began to calculate the use of evil spirits as staff again, but Qinming had a headache when he thought of what happened in the hotel today. On the opposite side, Huo Qingqing watched Qinming's complexion change constantly, frowning and sighing, and he sighed in his heart. What is the boss worrying about again? Although Huo Qingqing wanted to ask, she didn't dare. In case Qinming was offended, it would be her own luck. Just as this woman was thinking about it, Qinming suddenly said, by the way, do you know Donghai City, like you? Demon King, how many more? What? Huo Qingqing was taken aback, but he didn't dare not answer. There are, well, many more. My lord, what are you going to do? She cautiously tentatively asked. It's nothing, it's just a lack of manpower recently. Qin Ming sighed. Although the business in the store is still half dead, he doesn't believe that no one will come to this ghost place in this life. It is the kingly way to solve the manpower in advance. Hearing Qin Ming's words, Huo Qingqing probably understood what it meant. Obviously, the boss wanted more servants. Ah no, little brother. Suddenly, several figures appeared in Huo Qingqing's mind. These people disgusted her a while ago, and just took advantage of an opportunity to clean them up. Then Huo Qingqing told the whereabouts of those people. Qin Ming's eyes lit up. The good guy actually still has so many Demon King level existences. Very good, this news is really great. Qin Ming said excitedly, but it won't work today. I have something to do tomorrow. I have to go to bed early today. Speaking of Qin Ming, she got up and walked upstairs. Huo Qingqing hurriedly followed when she saw this. She knew that Qin Ming was going to attack her tonight. Although she had been prepared, her heart was still beating very fast. Is that really going to happen? But it's shameful. Huo Qingqing blushed and lowered his head. Huo Qingqing, you have fallen, but he is going to bully you forcibly. How can you think like that? Would you like to, symbolically, struggle for that night? When she was thinking about her daily, she suddenly realized that Qin Ming who was walking in front was missing. Then she turned her head and saw Qin Ming's room door closed. It seems that the boss is not so direct. Pooh. Huo Qingqing coldly snorted in his heart. He was obviously uneasy and kind, and he arrested me to make me cook. Even if such a person is strong, he must have a personality problem. No, be careful at night. So in the same night, Huo Qingqing froze with his eyes wide open and did not rest. Outside Donghai City, inside that cave. After the past few days, the stone sculpture of the big yellow dog is already covered with cracks. At this level, it seems that it will soon be completely cracked like other statues. At the same time, the surrounding spiritual chi began to rush towards the stone sculpture of the big yellow dog at a terrifying speed, and then dived into it. There are many fierce beasts near the entrance of the small cave. The wildness of the city has always been a world of fierce beasts and evil spirits. Ordinary humans can't live for a minute in such an uncleaned place. Originally, these fierce beasts were quietly taking care of their own affairs, but as the spiritual chi around was slowly sucked into the stone sculptures, these fierce beasts felt the crisis and began to become restless, and some of the powerful fierce beasts continued to decline. Roaring. However, no one knows what happened here. Early in the morning, the sun shines in the yard. Qin Ming squinted his eyes and looked at the layout of the yard. Naturally, he couldn't just buy a few cherry blossoms. Since Xiao Nianzhu likes it, of course he bought the whole tree. With the current technology, it is not difficult to cultivate cherry blossoms that bloom all year round, and the vitality of this genetically modified cherry blossom is extremely tenacious. Oh, Lao Qin, what is this for? Niu Junda suddenly broke into the yard and leaned to Qin Ming's side with a mysterious smile. Are you free at night? I will take you to the Guardian Bureau. What? Qin Ming was stunned. Why should I go to such a place? Ahem, it's like this. Tonight, there is a sorority party in the Guardian Bureau. It doesn't matter that you have been single for so many years. As a brother, I have to think about the important things of your life. Hearing Niu Junda's words, Qin Ming raised his eyebrows slightly and turned to look at him. Today's Niu Junda, no matter how he looks at it, he feels something is wrong. The usual sorrowful energy has disappeared today, and it has a solemn meaning. There must be a problem. Qin Ming smelled the conspiracy. Let's go, what tricks do you want to play behind? Qin Ming raised his eyebrows. Hearing this, Niu Junda's heart suddenly trembled. Was it seen through? Hee, you and I are good brothers, how could I cheat you? Niu Junda hurriedly said with a smile. Isn't this our Guardian Bureau has many beautiful single girls? Lao Qin, you are alone again, I want to help you match it up. Real, of course it is true. Besides, don't you believe me? Even if I cheat no one will cheat you. Niu Junda has a real story. Qin Ming didn't believe these words anyway, but it seemed interesting to talk about the party. Our program has been arranged. In the evening, we will have dinner together, and then sing and dance. Don't tell me, many girls in the Guardian Bureau have talents. Niu Junda raised his chin at Qin Yu, looking forward to it, clearly telling Qin Ming that there was a conspiracy behind it. Don't go. What? After hearing Qin Ming's words, Niu Junda looked dazed. No, you really don't go. This is not nonsense. I have been very busy these few days. The business has just turned a little bit better. I need to sit here. Qin Ming said calmly, and then no matter how Niu Junda flickered, Qin Ming said that he would not go. After nearly half an hour was wasted in the yard, Niu Junda could only leave in disgrace. After a few circles, he got in a black suspended vehicle. How is it? Did he agree? In the car, Yang Qianqun and Song Tiandong stared at Niu Junda closely. Faced with the questions of the two big brothers, Niu Junda reported truthfully. No, how could he not agree? Yang Qianqun raised his eyebrows. Niu Junda could only lock his neck and dare not say anything, for fear of being dealt with by the two big men because of the failure of own operation. Time goes back to the night before the day. Niu Junda was pushed into the office by the three of Sun Shoheng. At first, Niu Junda thought it was because of his meritorious service in the morning, and the three big men wanted to reward him with something. As a result, Yang Qianqun directly stated that Niu Junda would deceive Qin Ming into the guarding bureau. As for why they wanted to deceive, they gave a very strange reason. For the lives of millions of people in Donghai City. Would Niu Junda believe this nonsense reason? He directly rose up to resist, saying that Qin Ming is his good brother, and it is impossible for him to do anything to deceive his good brother. It seemed that Niu Junda would have expected this kind of reaction, and Sun Shoheng's mouth raised a conspiracy smile. Mavericks, you are now the star of our guardianship. Recently there is a training plan. We plan to focus on training you. In the following words, Sun Shoheng did not go on. Sure enough, Niu Junda's eyes widened. Boss, is this true? Of course it is true, but well, you know the situation now, the Guardian Bureau is tightly funded. Sun Shoheng started the bitter-sounding mode. It's true that it's a big deal this time. Besides, we are not lying to your friends, right? There is indeed such a sorority. But as far as I know, this sorority party seems to be prepared for the grandparents in the cafeteria, right? Niu Junda said with his eyes wide open, hearing that Sun Shoheng wanted to slap this unsatisfactory thing to death. Holding back the anger in his heart, Sun Shoheng looked at Niu Junda and snorted coldly. Then I'll make it clear, if you don't agree, you won't have your share this time. Don't be boss. Niu Junda was anxious. He sat on a chair and was stared at by the three big bosses, his face full of tangled expressions. Well, after the matter is done, can you not tell Qin Ming? Niu Junda tentatively said. Sun Shoheng's eyes lit up. There is a show. Right now he continued to behave in a good way. Of course he won't tell Qin Ming, only the four of us know about this. Well, although I feel guilty for being so guilty to my brother, Niu Junda is also a person who takes care of the overall situation. Naturally, I can't consider my own emotional factors at this time. Leave this to me, and I will definitely finish it. Niu Junda said with a distressed look. It seemed that he was really ashamed of deceiving his friends. In fact, this guy didn't know how happy he was. It was very important to get that spot. Besides, it was just for Qin Ming to come and guard the bureau, and nothing would happen. Sun Shoheng showed a teachable smile on his face. At this moment, Yang Qianqun and Song Tiandong fell into silence in the maglev vehicle, thinking about how to deal with the current situation in their minds. The reason why they wanted to distract Qin Ming was really because they were worried about Huo Qingqing's time bomb. Especially after knowing how terrifying Huo Qingqing's strength is, they even dare not let a demon king go on in Donghai City in such a safe and sound manner. It was just because of Qin Ming that they did not dare to do anything indiscriminately, for fear that Qin Ming was controlled by Huo Qingqing, and it would be no good if he was injured by mistake. Therefore, Qin Ming could only be temporarily distracted. Why don't I try it? Yang Qianqun said. An idea had already occurred in his mind. At this time, in the Shenling Hotel, Qin Ming was looking for a place to buy cherry blossoms on Guangganao. It happened that there was one in Donghai City. While flipping through the information on Guangganao, Qin Ming was about to leave. At this moment, Yang Qianqun walked in. Qin Ming raised his eyebrows. There seems to be something wrong today. Why is this woman here again? Thinking of how Yang Qianqin and Huo Qingqing looked at Meimong yesterday, Qinming felt a headache. I have something to find you. Yang Qianqin said. Although your employee has been reformed, he has to guard the bureau for the record. We cannot allow an evil spirit to move in a city where humans live. Can this matter be filed? Qinming was shocked. He seriously suspected that this woman was holding a grudge. He wanted to reject it subconsciously, but he was relieved when he thought of Huo Qingqing's identity. After all, he is a demon. Although Qinming and Huo Qingqing signed a master-servant contract, they were able to restrain each other, but no one believed this. It's good for Yang Qianqin not to directly arrest people, and this is indeed a face for himself. How can I say that the only official employee in the store is her? Thinking of this, Qinming could only nod his head and agree. Seeing Qinming agreed, Yang Qianqin finally breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time glanced at the door of the back kitchen. That woman is in the back kitchen. Are you sure? After filing, nothing will happen. Qinming raised his eyebrows tentatively. Well, but if something happens in East Sea City in the future, she will also have a huge suspicion. Qinming nodded to express his understanding. If it were not that he could not recruit people, he would not let a demon king come to the restaurant as a cook. Then Qinming and Chen Gui exhorted him and left with Yang Qianqin. Less than 5 minutes after the two left, Sun Shouheng and Song Tiandong broke into the back kitchen directly. Relying on their strength, naturally they would not attract Chen Gui's attention. At this time, the chef, Huo Qingqing, is in beef radish soup, dressed in black casual clothes and wearing a cute pink apron. It looks like a good wife and mother, and it doesn't match the fierce and brutal demon king at all. Let's talk. What are your intentions? Sun Shouheng stared at Hu Qingqing, and at the same time he was 120,000 vigilant, ready to do it at any time. Huo Qingqing stared at the two dumbfoundedly. Obviously they still didn't give up. But Huo Qingqing can't tell the real reason for own. After all, she knows that Qinming is a low-key person. An invincible existence, keen on cooking. Who would believe this? Therefore, Huo Qingqing must help Qinming to conceal this matter. If not, Qinming is angry that she has no good fruit if the matter is revealed. Hey, didn't my Buddha say that, putting down the butcher knife and becoming a Buddha, I have already corrected the evil and returned to righteousness? Is it okay for the previous things to be the past? Huo Qingqing said calmly. For a while, Sun Shouheng and Song Tiandong looked at each other, and both saw shock and unbelief in each other's eyes. If you are arguing with me, how can an evil spirit change the evil and return to righteousness? Song Tiandong shouted immediately. Huo Qingqing raised her eyebrows. Couldn't it work? I'm serious, don't worry, I will be very stable in the future. Ha, what the evil spirit said is just bullshit, really when I guard the bureau as a vegetarian. Sun Shouheng snorted. Immediately state your purpose, and what is the purpose of that piece of black crystal? I'm repeating it last, I just want to be a cook quietly now. Hu Qingqing frowned. As for that thing, I advise you not to mess around at will. I am not responsible for something that happens. Sure enough, your conspiracy is the crystal, right? Sun Shouheng's face showed a look that I knew everything was clear. Don't think I don't know, you hijacked the owner of this restaurant to use it as a cover for you, right? Seeing that the two still refused to leave, and even said such strange words, Huo Qingqing's temper also came up. Hijack the boss. Even if she has the courage, she doesn't have this strength. Isn't this crazy? Whatever you think, now, either you get out of yourselves, or I will help you. Huo Qingqing snorted coldly, and at the same time he exuded a dangerous aura. After feeling it, Sun Shouheng narrowed his eyes slightly. This breath was weaker than yesterday's, but I don't know how many times it was. If the opponent were really that powerful, he would have easily destroyed the entire East Sea City long ago. Obviously, the evil spirit in front of him is pretending to be garlic. I really don't believe it. Song Tiandong, do it. Following Sun Shouheng's order, the two rushed to Huo Qingqing one after another. At the same time, Huo Qingqing waved his hand, and an invisible barrier enveloped the entire kitchen. She didn't want the kitchen to be ruined because of the fight, otherwise, the consequences would be miserable. Seeing the two people rushing towards her, a smirk appeared on her face, and she kept rubbing her hands. After being frustrated for so long, She finally had a chance to vent. 5 minutes later, in a black maglev car, Song Tiandong and Sun Shoheng sat in the front row. Their appearance at this time can be described as extremely miserable. Both their heads turned into pig heads, their faces were bruised, and their eyes turned into big panda eyes, which looked very funny. Originally, Sun Shoheng thought that if the two of them work together, even if they can't subdue a demon, they can still protect themselves. But he incorrectly estimated own strength. Within 3 seconds of the opening, these two goods were pressed to the ground by Huo Qingqing and rubbed fiercely. Hey, this guy is so cruel and disfigured. Song Tiandong looked at himself in the mirror, crying without tears. On the other hand, Sun Shoheng was much smarter. He chose not to look in the mirror, and even put on sunglasses for himself. At the same time, he placed a cigarette in the cold. She has a chance to kill us, but it was just a fight. There must be a problem. I also know there is a problem, but boss, can we drive to the hospital first? I think I am in pain all over now. Sun Shoheng spit out a puff of smoke without moving. Seeing this scene, Song Tiandong raised his eyebrows. Boss, why don't you drive? You think I don't want to? If it weren't for daddy's legs, I would have been out of the accelerator. Sun Shoheng was extremely aggrieved. This was the most miserable time since I debuted. I was actually rubbed on the ground for 5 minutes. It was a shame to say it. I don't know how long it took before the maglev car finally dangling into the sky. Don't tell anyone about this matter. Don't worry, boss, as long as the woman doesn't say anything, no one will know. But I have to say, boss, drive steady, you almost crashed, don't you know? You think I think, my hands hurt, I can't hold the steering wheel. ... An hour later, in the hospital ward, Sun Shoheng and Song Tiandong sat in chairs. In front of them, there was Yang Qianqin with a flushed face and shrugged shoulders. Yang Qianqin wanted to look directly at the two of them several times, but couldn't help seeing them now. Laugh as you want, Sun Shoheng said with a sullen face. Puff ha 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 ha, I can't do it anymore, I really can't do it anymore, boss, you are so funny. After getting permission, Yang Qianqin finally broke out, half kneeling on the ground, clutching his stomach. At this time, Sun Shoheng's left hand was hung with an auxiliary treatment instrument, his left leg was covered with a fixed splint, and his face was swollen like a pig's head. Especially the two huge panda eyes, the most people can't help but laugh. Sun Shoheng gritted his teeth. Yang Qianqin, converge. Yang Qianqin not only did not appear to want to repent, but also took out his light brain and kept taking pictures of the two of them. Suddenly, Sun Shoheng was extremely sad and angry, and his eyes on Song Tiandong were even more murderous. You dog thing, don't you say that no one will know. Now tell me what's the matter with the crazy woman in front of you. Song Tiandong lowered his head and didn't know how to explain it for a while. To blame, he can only be blamed for his low hands and accidentally connected to Yang Qianqin's video call. In the ward, after a long burst of laughter, Yang Qianqin slowed down, and at the same time expressed pity for the two of them. How long will the support come? Sun Shoheng glared at Yang Qianqin. Now he can't even use a light brain, his whole person is like a zombie. The master sent from the headquarters is expected to arrive tomorrow, but then again, it seems that the evil spirit has really changed its evil spirits. At this time, Yang Qianqin stepped forward and looked at the injuries of the two. Although it looks serious, but with their strength and current medical level, they can recover in half a day. Obviously Huo Qingqing didn't kill him, so the problem came. The encounter between humans and evil spirits is endless, and it has never happened before. The ghost knows if she has any conspiracy, and now I only want to do one thing, which is to press that guy on the ground and rub it. Sun Shoheng had scarlet eyes and kept gritting his teeth. But what excuse will you use next time? Yang Qianqin frowned. Or, do it directly. Of course it's a direct action. Counting the masters sent by the headquarters, it's impossible for the four of us to be her opponents. If it doesn't work, we will call the emperor-level powerhouse to come and support. Sun Shoheng said bitterly. Also, if you dare to say half a word about this matter, I... Jingle jingle. At this moment, Sun Shoheng's optical brain suddenly sounded, and Yang Qianqin next to him connected to the video call. Puff ha ha ha, grandson, what are you doing, ha ha ha. When the phone was connected, a middle-aged man saw Sun Shohang's appearance and immediately burst into laughter. Sun Shohang was stunned. He looked at Yang Qianchen suddenly, who stuck out his tongue. I just didn't hold it back, I sent it to moments. At this time, Sun Shohang wanted to cry, he really wanted to cry. Own Ai's famous name. On the other side, Qin Ming was walking slowly in a plant garden, with a smile on his face, looking very proud. People who didn't know thought that this product had won several million prizes. Looking at the systematic information in his mind, Qin Ming was really happy from ear to ear. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully clocking in. Awakened God-level guardian spirit, Chaos God Tree. Now in the sea of darkness in his body, there is already a towering tree, and this tree is as big as the ghost gate in the void. Not only did his strength skyrocket again, what Qin Ming was even more excited about was that the God Tree could produce a steady stream of chaos spiritual qi, which was even more pure than spiritual qi. Beiming Kunpeng and many other guardian spirits have benefited a lot. For a while, Qin Ming was in a good mood. Under the sluggish gaze of the boss, he ordered more than 30 cherry blossom trees in one breath, just enough to plant the yard. Not only that, some flowers and plants, but everything that Qin Ming looked at was pleasing to the eye, he bought some. He even bought more than 50 koi in the market on the side. Anyway, he came out to buy things and simply set up the small pond in the backyard. After returning with a full load, Qin Ming suddenly found that there were many customers in the store, and none of them were students from Tunghai University. Could it be that someone here is willing to come? Entering the store happily, he saw Huo Qingqing walking out of the back kitchen with the food. Seeing her so diligent, Qin Ming couldn't help but nod secretly. It's not in vain to go through the guarding game, it's still worth it. What's the situation, Brother Gui? Qin Ming leaned against the counter. Chen Gui said as he settled the accounts, it seems that the guests are all residents in this neighborhood. Qin Ming almost stared out his eyes. Even so, it's impossible to come here with so many people at once. Now the shop is almost full, and just here, there is a steady stream of people coming in around. What do you think? Our restaurant is open around, they can only come here. As he said, Chen Gui showed a simple smile. Mingzi, brother just studied a new dish. Would you like to taste it tonight? Gudong. Qin Ming swallowed subconsciously, remembering the bowl of seafood noodles at the time. Although Niu Junda had eaten it, Qin Ming could still feel the despair in Niu Junda's heart. Just as he was about to refuse, Su Qingyuan dragged his tired body to the counter. She is getting more and more tired these days, and she is trying to communicate with the guardian spirit of Own every day. Although the effect is good, but she doesn't know why, she is always weak. Boss, I apply. Let me hire more employees. It's too tiring. Su Qingyuan said weakly. Don't you know, I am the only one to entertain the whole store. Qin Ming let out a dry cough, with an embarrassment on his face. There are indeed not enough staff in this shop. Since humans can't recruit, they can only use dead horses as living horse doctors, and use evil spirits to try them for the time being. After having been busy for a long time, it was considered rested. During this period, Xiao Nianzu, who came back from school, also joined the team of help. Only Huo Qingqing showed no signs of exhaustion. She had a bad breath today, and she was in a good mood. As a devil's strength, this level of spirit power can be resolved with a shock. After closing the shop at night, Qin Ming looked at the small courtyard full of cherry blossoms in a very good mood. At the same time, he left a large open space on the right side of the door, where he wanted to release the sacred chaos tree. It doesn't count as if it was released, it was just the projection of the god of chaos tree, but the projected one also had the effect of the god of chaos tree. This point is still Bei's lion's suggestion. If the sacred tree of chaos is projected, it will be very helpful to the cherry blossoms in the yard and can make them never wither. Seeing no one around, Qin Ming directly threw the projection of the sacred chaos tree. A towering tree appeared directly in the yard, just filling the entire open space. The big tree is 7 or 8 meters high, with a large crown, fan-shaped, covering half of the yard. There are dense leaves on the canopy, amidst the green of vitality, and many small golden flowers can be seen. From a distance, it is very magnificent and beautiful. Qin Ming was very satisfied with this and couldn't help but sit under the tree and light a cigarette. Because of a busy day, Xiao Nianzhu went to bed very early and fell asleep before 10 o'clock. Seeing this, Qin Ming directly called Huo Qingqing over. Lead the way, then I will introduce a successful one, and I will increase your salary by 500. Huo Qingqing is not concerned about wage increases. She couldn't wait to see how wonderful the expressions on the faces of those guys would be. On the outskirts of Donghai City, here is far away from the steel forest, and the environment is beautiful and quiet. A fat middle-aged man wrinkled his brows and walked cautiously on the small road, constantly vigilant about any possible places around him. As soon as Fan Junction arrived near the outskirts of East China Sea City, he felt an extremely strong evil aura. He hurriedly stepped forward to check and saw 3 men exuding at least a god of war atmosphere standing in front of a tomb. Evil spirits. Fan Junction had never seen an evil spirit like a human being, and under curiosity in his heart, he directly stood up and did it. Seeing this, the 3 of them hurriedly fled. They did not intend to fight, and the speed of fleeing was so fast that Fan Junction couldn't catch up with his full strength. In the end, he lost the target. Sure enough, the situation in Donghai City is not so optimistic now. This is somewhat similar to Zhongbei. Fan Junction frowned and continued to hunt. Outside a small village, Qin Ming was slowly walking towards the small hill not far ahead with a cigarette in his mouth. The last time I saw them, it was here. Pointing to the small mountain bag in front of him, Huo Qingqing almost crushed his molars and said, showing how angry this woman was by what happened before. Thinking of what happened before, Huo Qingqing couldn't help but want to shoot them to death. I actually wanted to do something to her when I was weak. If it wasn't for some means of escape, they would really have succeeded. Soon the 2 of them walked up to the small hill. There was a dilapidated old house on it. Qin Ming could feel that there was a fellow in the old house. There will be humans at such an important node. Inside the old house, a gloomy man gritted his teeth and said. Because of a man who appeared suddenly, their plan could not be carried out, and after missing this time, they had to wait another 7 days. I don't know what will happen in 7 days. Forget it, let's restore strength first, now this weak strength is really uncomfortable. The gloomy man gave a cold snort, got up and slammed the door open. In an instant, he was stunned, and then a sneer appeared on his face. Huo Qingqing, do you really dare to find here? The gloomy man smiled contemptuously, and at the same time found Qin Ming standing beside Huo Qingqing. Oh, with a worthless human being, why, do you want to come to reconcile with me? I tell you, this is impossible. When you robbed me 300 years ago, you and I were already deadly enemies. Opposite him, Huo Qingqing also sneered, Bai Yingwu, do you think there is a possibility of reconciliation between you and me? Oh, are you here to die this time? Bai Yingwu snorted coldly. He had already started to move his own wrist. With such an arrogant expression, Qin Ming felt that he had seen the spirit boy from the previous life. There is not much ability, pretending to be invincible. Qin Ming raised his eyebrows and looked at Huo Qingqing. Is this the person you are talking about? Well, there were originally 3. It is estimated that the other 2 are out. Huo Qingqing nodded. So far I know only 3. But he doesn't look normal. Are you sure he can do the job? Qin Ming frowned. No matter how you look at this product, it doesn't match up with a smiling waiter. The gloomy temperament is said to serve customers. When you stop at the door, anyone who wants to come in is always a scent. Human, I don't like the look in your eyes. Bai Yingwu looked at Qin Ming coldly. Although I don't know what the woman Huo Qingqing did for bringing you, but with your powerless power, you really gave me my soul. Huo Qingqing, when I solve this human first, I will clean up you. Qin Ming confirmed with Huo Qingqing again. This product doesn't look normal, is there something wrong with my brain? Yes, he was kicked in the head by a donkey. I'll just say, it wouldn't be the case if it was a little normal. Forget it, this is not appropriate, let's find the next one. Qin Ming shook his head. Such a guy is obviously not suitable for being a waiter. When Bai Yingwu heard Qin Ming's words, his face suddenly became gloomy, and his already gloomy look was even more permeating at this time. If there are children by the side, he will definitely be frightened and cry. Human, you are the most rampant I have ever seen, not one of them. Dare to blaspheme your god, the consequences are very serious. Bai Yingwu snorted coldly, and suddenly the wind blew around him, a cold breath surrounded him, and then turned into a huge whirlpool in the air. Sacrifice your soul to me. As Bai Yingwu's very pretentious words fell, the terror suction went straight to Qin Ming. Bai Yingwu's face was full of sneers. In his opinion, Qin Ming was dead. If even an ant-like human can't be eliminated, he, the Demon King, will just find a tofu and kill him. However, in the next second, a more terrifying suction power was uploaded from Qin Ming's body, and all the yin qi in Bai Yingwu's body was absorbed by Qin Ming. What? How is this possible? Bai Yingwu was dull on the spot. Qin Yu raised his eyebrows. If you say your brain is sick, you are really sick. I haven't done anything, so I have to do something to me. Do you have any quality? That is there any quality? Huo Qingqing also shouted from the side. Bai Yingwu was dumbfounded. He looked into Huo Qingqing's eyes, full of anger that he wanted to spit out. Is this woman humiliating herself? Huo Qingqing, what the hell are you doing? Who is he? Huo Qingqing's face was full of sarcastic smiles. He, you ask so much what you are doing, and cherish the opportunity to meet this queen. When she met Qin Ming for the first time, the other party said that she wanted to eliminate harm for the people. What is about to happen now? Really let her be in the middle stage. HMPH, pretending to be a fool, you weren't my opponent before, and now, you can't be. Bai Yingwu snorted coldly, turning into a phantom and wanted to jump over. What? But in the next moment, Bai Yingwu suddenly screamed and was thrown directly on the ground. Qin Ming slowly retracted his palm. Hey, the world is getting worse. Qin Ming dangling his fluence said, originally, Donghai City is such a peaceful city. It has been disturbed by you guys who popped up suddenly, and there is no business in my store. You said, am I going to kill the people? Bai Yingwu looked at Qin Ming incredulously. He was trembling with anger. As a Demon King level existence, he was actually despised by a human being. How dare he threaten him? An ant-like human dare to be so arrogant with me, go to hell. Bai Yingwu roared and rushed directly to Qin Ming. In his opinion, his own strength was stronger than Huo Qingqing, not to mention the human being in front of him. Qin Ming raised his hand again. Snapped. This time, clear applause sounded in the air. Bai Yingwu flew out again like a flash of lightning. Bai Yingwu fell on the ground with a dazed expression. He didn't even feel that Qin Ming had attacked him. What's more terrifying was that he didn't feel the fluctuation of power from Qin Ming. It was as if Qin Ming really just stretched out his hand and slapped a plain slap. This is indeed beyond the scope of Bai Yingwu's cognition. He even has a hunch that even in this period when he is top and strong, he cannot be Qin Ming's opponent. But what makes this guy intolerable is that, as a powerful Demon King, he was actually bullied like this by a human. Bai Yingwu had a hideous face and scarlet eyes, which turned into a black lightning and rushed towards Qin Ming. He doesn't believe in this evil. Snapped. With crisp applause, Bai Yingwu flew out again. Seeing his miserable appearance, Huo Qingqing didn't know how excited he was. A long time ago, the two were endlessly dying. Later, Huo Qingqing paid a great price to snatch the black crystal from Bai Yingwu. After that, the situation became more rigid. Watching Bai Yingwu being ravaged by Qin Ming at this time, Huo Qingqing couldn't tell me that it was refreshing. Impossible, it is absolutely impossible. Bai Yingwu got up and roared. This inferior world cannot have a strong like you. You are definitely not a person in this world. Qin Ming touched his nose. If you really want to figure it out, he really is not a person in this world. As for Bai Yingwu's words, it should be a question of the surprise of the soul. Don't do useless struggles. If you turn your head and run when you see an adult, you may still have a chance to survive. Oh no, when you are known by an adult, you have no chance to survive. Huo Qingqing showed a sunny smile. This can make Bai Ying martially tremble, and at the same time look at Qin Ming's eyes full of jealousy. Although it is inevitable to be uncomfortable to be cleaned up by a human being like this, Bai Yingwu is not an idiot. He knows that he is absolutely impossible to be Qin Ming's opponent. At this time, Bai Yingwu's mind was full of how to escape. Very well, this is all you forced me. Bai Yingwu gritted his teeth and roared. His aura and coercion continued to rise, rising one after another, directly breaking through the God of War level realm breath, reaching the Emperor level. Not only that, he also has the intention to continue to make breakthroughs. Seeing this scene, Huo Qingqing's expression changed drastically. My lord, this guy is burning his soul to gain power. The implication is to stop quickly, and let Bai Yingwu escape, and the cultivation will be restored for decades. Qin Ming nodded slowly when he heard the words. Then, he stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers. Boom! The terrifying and mighty coercion descended from the sky, and Bai Yingwu, who was constantly burning his soul to gain strength, spouted a mouthful of blood. The momentum on his body was instantly crushed by such terrifying coercion. Bai Yingwu raised his head and was in a daze. He seemed to see a big bird in the sky covering the sky. Behind the big bird was a quaint giant door that exuded a palpitation, and beside the door, there was a towering tree. Gudong. He subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of water. What is the situation? Can anyone explain it? Bai Yingwu can be sure that the sights he sees are all phantoms, not entities. But just by seeing these phantoms, he could know how terrifying the entities of these guys appeared. It is very possible that just the coercion that radiated from him could crush him to death. Fortunately, such an illusion disappeared in the blink of an eye. Bai Yingwu recovered from the confusion, and the expression in Qin Ming's eyes was full of grief and despair. Asshole, daddy fights with you. Bai Yingwu roared and kicked Qin Ming. He is completely desperate, but as a demon king, he has the devil's own arrogance. Of course, it is impossible to admit defeat at this time. Even if you die, you will die in battle. Click. Qin Ming easily reached out and grabbed Bai Yingwu's calf, and the latter stopped in the air. It was also at this moment that a bad premonition rose in Bai Yingwu's heart. Hey, wait, don't, I I saw Qin Ming grabbed his ankle, made a semicircle in the air, and then hit the ground fiercely. In an instant, Bai Yingwu was smashed, but he hadn't recovered yet. He felt an acceleration again. Bang bang bang. Oh, a screaming scream accompanied by the sound of a hammer hitting the ground. After hitting the ground 7 or 8 times, Qin Ming casually threw Bai Yingwu aside. His eyes lit up, and his face was full of excitement. Good fellow, finally realized the happiness of the Hulk. On the side, Bai Yingwu only felt that all his bones were shattered, lying on the ground like a puddle of mud, blood constantly spurting out of his mouth. At this time, Bai Yingwu was already in a state of dying, and there was no chance to continue rescue. Sure enough, it didn't take long before he straightened his braid. Huo Qingqing, who had a full view of such a cruel scene, was completely sluggish at this time, especially when she saw the secretly excited look on Qin Ming's face. She was even more certain. Don't look at Qin Ming, who is usually very casual, but when he is fierce, it is really scary. Hey, come here for nothing. Qin Ming sighed. Huo Qingqing immediately refreshed. My lord, shall we look for the other 2 people? Forget it, I'm a little tired, let's talk about it tomorrow. Qin Ming waved his hand, and then suddenly thought of something. By the way, you can call me the boss from now on. Don't pinch the name as an adult. Huo Qingqing nodded like pounding garlic. After seeing Bai Yingwu's miserable end, her awe of Qin Ming once again ascending a floor, and hurriedly changed her name to the boss. After the 2 left, a plump figure covered in cold sweat came out from a corner. This person followed Fan Junction all the way to this neighborhood. When he came over, he saw the scene of Qin Ming cleaning up Bai Yingwu like a ruin. Not only that, he also felt a terrifying breath from Qin Ming. Fan Junction's first reaction was that this person was not an opponent, he was strong, and he was too strong. Even in Fan Junction's view, the existence of an emperor was not necessarily Qin Ming's opponent. For a while, he was shocked. Donghai City actually has such a powerful existence. But Fan Junction is also a smart man. This kind of powerful existence is obviously beyond the scope of cognition, but there is no record in the entire Guardian Bureau record. This is intriguing. Obviously, the other party wants a low-key life, and does not want to expose his identity. After judging it for a long time, Fan Junction believed that this matter must be rotten in his stomach and not let others know. In the unlikely event that this hidden boss is unhappy, the powerhouses of the entire China will stand on the other side, and he is obviously going to be a victim. Chapter 51. After understanding this, Fan Junction felt a lot more stable. Anyway, as long as he doesn't disclose what happened today, everything is the same. But when he thought of the terrifying aura exuding from Qin Ming's body, Fan Junction was extremely excited. This is the power of the strong. Shaking his head and sighing, Fan Zhengxian also hurried towards the center of the city. It was already early in the morning when he arrived, because he had been informed in advance that at this time, Sun Shouheng and the three were sitting in the office waiting. Pushing the door and entering, Sun Shouheng smiled and stood up. I knew it, this time you were sent here. Fan Zhengxian also laughed loudly. Old Sun, it has been more than 2 years since the last time I left, and your strength is still the same. Sun Shouheng's smiling face suddenly solidified, and he glared at Fan Zhengxian. Don't give me which pot or not to mention which pot. Don't you know where is East Sea City? In this small city, how many chances of ascension strength can I have? Fan Zhengxian also waved his hand and greeted Song Tiandong and Yang Qianqian. He also knew both of them. Okay, go straight to the subject. What's the situation in East Sea City now? Fan Zhengxian said slowly. Speaking of this, the atmosphere in the office became serious. Sun Shouheng first gave a brief introduction to the overall situation in East China Sea. After speaking, Fan Zhengxian narrowed his eyes. In my opinion, the current situation in East Sea City is very difficult. I saw 3 human-like evil spirits on the way here. What? Sun Shouheng exclaimed. Are there any mistakes? 3 more appear. Counting the 2 sisters, Huo Qingqing, there are already 5 human-like evil spirits in Donghai City. It is not known where these evil spirits came from, and their life forms are different from the ordinary evil spiritual roots, and they are completely human. Donghai City has never encountered such a situation. Now in the entire country of China, there are many places like these guys. The situation in Zhongbei is even worse. There are at least a dozen such existences in the city. A lot of trouble has been caused, and half of the city has been destroyed by fighting. N.S. Fan Zhengxian sighed. The news is in a state of confidentiality, and you can understand it if you don't know it, but it is foreseeable that this situation is likely to continue to become serious. Where is the emperor-level powerhouse? Yang Qianqian raised his eyebrows. Do you think that a dozen emperors in our country can handle these things? Almost each of them is guarding one side. Not only that, now there are emperor-level human-like evil spirits, and even a kind of evil beasts. A breath of humanity appears. Fan Zhengxian shook his head and said, the situation is chaotic now. For a while, the office fell into silence. If this is the case, if the development continues, mankind may once again return to the difficulties of the initial stage of the recovery of spiritual qi. These things are not something we can worry about. The most urgent task now is to take advantage of those human-like evil spirits to get rid of them. Sun Shouheng squinted his eyes. Especially a certain guy, I really hate it now. Puff. Yang Qianqian couldn't hold back again. She thought of seeing Sun Shouheng in the ward before, and her laughter naturally attracted Sun Shouheng's glaring. The 4 of them discussed it and finally decided to start with Huo Qingqing in the Shenling Hotel. At 10 noon the next day, 4 people appeared at the entrance of the hotel. Looking at the sparse guests in the hotel, Sun Shouheng and others started directly but walked into it. Coming again. Qin Ming raised his eyebrows. Sun Shouheng chose to ignore Qin Ming's exclamation directly. In his opinion, Qin Ming must be controlled by Huo Qingqing. As long as Huo Qingqing is killed, this problem can be solved. However, Fan Zhengxian stood dumbfounded. What happened last night is vivid, and he will not be able to forget Qin Ming's face in his entire life, and he will recognize his identity the first time. Suddenly, Fan Zhengxian's whole person was not well. How come you met this big guy? Fan Zhengxian was shocked secretly, and at the same time hurriedly pulled Sun Shouheng. What are you doing? The demon girl is inside. Listen to me. After entering, just chop it without saying anything, kill it first, then say it. Sun Shouheng said. Before Fan Zhengxian spoke, Huo Qingqing walked out with a tray like a good wife and mother. Seeing her, Fan Zhengxian's body trembled again. Ha, demon girl, how can you run this time? Sun Shouheng sneered, ready to ignore it. Not only that, Yang Qianqian and Song Tiandong have also made preparations for battle. Only Fan Zhengxian was in cold sweat, and even began to tremble. Hey, dare to come, didn't you eat enough for the last lesson? Huo Qingqing sneered, ignored it at all, and walked to a table of guests with a plate. Following Qin Ming in the past few days, she has already ascensioned her strength a lot through that yin aura. Especially last night, She found that the pure spiritual qi in the small yard had reached a terrifying point. Those spiritual qi are too pure, they don't need to be refined at all, just take a breath of spiritual qi and run spirit power to digest them. Ascension's strength is as simple as eating and drinking water. Huo Qingqing now has returned to 1/3 of her peak state strength. In this case, she is not as simple as bullying a child to clean up Sun Shouheng and others. Demon girl, it's a disaster for the world, see if I. Sun Shouheng gritted his teeth and was ready to fight a battle when he suddenly found that own arm was being grabbed by someone. No, what are you doing, Lao Fan, why are you stopping me? Sun Shouheng exclaimed. This demon girl must be eradicated, otherwise there will be no peace in East China Sea. Fan Zhengxian wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, he smiled and said, Old son, are you wrong? How could she be an evil spirit, isn't she the boss? Qin Ming was surprised, this fatty is interesting. He didn't say a word, just watched from behind the counter. When Fan Zhengxian said this, Sun Shouheng was dumbfounded. Fan uncle, you are not crazy, you were not like this before you came. Yang Qianqin raised his eyebrows. Fan Zhengxian only felt that his back was soaked in cold sweat. He glanced at Qin Ming intentionally or unintentionally, and found that the other party did not show any dissatisfaction, and his heart was calmer. I don't know why, although Qin Ming didn't release his breath right now, Fan Zhengxian felt infinite pressure when he stood in front of him, as if he would be slapped to death by Qin Ming in the next second. Don't you know who I am? This girl can't be an evil spirit at first sight. Fan Zhengxian chuckled, then turned his head to look at Qin Ming. I'm sorry boss, how disturbing you are, let's leave now. Pushed out of the hotel by Fan Zhengxian, Sun Shouheng and the three of them looked confused. The three of them looked at Fan Zhengxian as if they had seen a ghost. Fan Zhengxian also let out a long sigh of relief. So horrible, the big guy is really a big guy, sitting there without speaking, there is a wave of coercion. Fan Zhengxian secretly said in his heart, fortunately, I just responded in a timely manner, otherwise, it will really cause disaster. Fan Zhengxian, who knew that Qin Ming's strength was terrifying, felt like he had walked through a ghost gate, and his whole body was soaked in cold sweat. Old Fan, what do you mean, maybe you were also controlled by the evil spirit? As Sun Shouheng said, looking at Fan Zhengxian, his expression was full of vigilance. Snapped. Fan Zhengxian's eyes were scarlet, and he slapped Sun Shouheng's head with a slap. Are you crazy? Sun Shouheng clutched his head. Sure enough, it was controlled by the enchantress, his father's. Today daddy went to fight with her. Bring me back. Fan Zhengxian scolded. I think you are crazy. What do you mean? Sun Shouheng was startled. Fan Zhengxian was also taken aback, not knowing how to explain it for a while. Do you really want to say that Qin Ming is a big boss, don't it? It is obvious that Sun Shouheng and others don't know the news at all, obviously the big boss deliberately concealed it. If he pierces through and provokes the gangster's unhappiness, then his good days are over. This matter is no longer something you and I can solve. Don't do anything again, Fan Zhengxian said for a long time. At the same time, he still had a sentence in his heart that he didn't say, if we provoke the boss, we are all done. All three of them were dumbfounded. Sun Shouheng's mind won't be able to turn around for a while. This is not a place to talk, hurry up. Fan Zhengxian pushed the three of them and hurriedly left the door of the hotel. Inside the counter, Qin Ming looked dumbfounded. You were so aggressive just now, why are you suddenly leaving now? Good guy, I don't know when I come to the store to hold business, do the guardians do it like this? Qin Ming sighed, and a figure in a red robe appeared in his mind. Niu Junda didn't come today. It was a bit abnormal, so I missed it. Not long after, in the Sun Shouheng office of the guarding bureau, the four people sat in their positions staring at each other. Are you sure that woman's strength is at least at the emperor level? Sun Shouheng narrowed his eyes. Yes, my strength in ascension in the past 2 years is very great, and I have lost the ceiling of God of War. Give me some more time to touch the threshold of the emperor. Fan Zhengxian said. I can feel that woman's strength is terrifying, she must be an emperor, and maybe even an advanced emperor. This is not an excuse for Fan Zhengxian's nonsense, he can indeed feel that Huo Qingqing's strength is terrifying. Then what should I do? There is an emperor-level evil spirit in this little East Sea city, can't play anymore. Sun Shouheng stood up suddenly. You must notify the headquarters immediately and let them send masters over. Fan Zhongxun didn't stop him, instead he nodded, but there is another point. The strength of the emperor is enough to destroy the entire East Sea city. This is not in line with the style of evil spirits. That's what I said. Song Tiandong nodded, but I don't believe that the woman has changed her evil spirits to righteousness. If she can change herself and become a new person, I will eat shit and live broadcast. Fan Zhongxun shook his heart. He didn't believe that evil spirits would correct evil, but thinking about this terrifying boss, Qin Ming, it immediately made sense. It must be Qin Ming who grabbed Huo Qingqing, who was not extremely evil in his heart, and wanted to change her mind. Yes, that's it. And last night, Qin was obviously doing harm to the people. The more he thought about it, Fan Zhongxun felt that it was more possible. Although the boss is not in rivers and lakes, he cares about rivers and lakes. Great man. Combining many speculations for a time, Fan Zhongxun had imagined Qin Ming as a noble existence in his heart, an ordinary person at ordinary times, but in the face of human righteousness, he would definitely come forward. After it's done, deepen your merits and fame. While Fan Zhongxun was feeling emotional, Sun Shohang had already informed the headquarters of the information here in detail, and the headquarters of the guarding bureau was also bewildered for a while after listening. Good guys, and the evil spirits who take the initiative to correct evil and return to righteousness. However, because the emperor-level evil spirits are very tricky to deal with, they can only dispatch the emperor-level guardians, and a battle between the two parties will be a general situation that will destroy the world. It is conservatively estimated that half of the East Sea city will be gone. It was absolutely impossible for Sun Shohang to let this happen, and finally chose a more compromised approach. Send someone to monitor. Let me go. Yang Qianqin stretched out her index finger and pointed at her nose. Is there any mistake? Such a dangerous action, let me go alone. After all, you have a good relationship with Qin Ming, and it's not dirty work, so you go to the store occasionally to check the situation. Sun Shohang said bitterly, this guy likes to talk nonsense when he comes out to be formal, and it is also very routine to persuade people. In the end, Yang Qianqin became the person in charge of the area where Hyaming Street was located, and was responsible for the safety and maintenance of that area, among which the most important thing was to monitor Huo Qingqing. If Huo Qingqing had known it, he would have rolled his eyes. With Qin Ming, she couldn't make any waves at all. The best way is to be serious and be a cook. When the matter was finalized, Yang Qianqin looked helpless and left the office directly. However, this scene fell in Fan Zhongxun's eyes, but he secretly shook his head. You have to cherish such a good opportunity. Fan Zhongxun said to himself in his heart, if you can have a good relationship with the boss, not to mention the cultivation and ascension, who will dare to provoke you in the future? If it weren't for the obvious, Fan Zhongxun wanted to fight for this opportunity for surveillance. In his opinion, this is not a chore at all, on the contrary it is a great opportunity. In the student dormitory of Tunghai University, Su Qingyuan was sitting on her bed with her brows closed. She is trying to communicate with own guardian spirit. This is what she has done most in the past few days, besides doing part-time work in class. It was already beyond her expectation to be able to awaken the guardian spirit. If she had the opportunity to communicate with the guardian spirit and thus the strength of ascension, it would be even more perfect. Time passed by, and Su Qingyuan didn't know how long it had passed. Suddenly, she felt clear in her mind, as if something had been broken through. After that, Su Qingyuan saw the scene in a space inside her body. She only felt that she was in a dark land, the land was very vast and boundless, and in front of her, there was an enchanting red flower. A faint smell of blood continued to be heard from the flowers, and Su Qingyuan could vaguely see a light red flame burning on the flowers. Seeing this weird scene, Su Qingyuan was shocked. Is this my guardian spirit? Su Qingyuan murmured. At this moment, the red flowers trembled suddenly, and at the same time a lazy voice sounded in Su Qingyuan's consciousness. Little girl, being able to communicate with me within 7 days is pretty good. This is the voice of a woman. Just listening to a woman's voice, Su Qingyuan can even imagine a lazy Oni-san. Just after she had such thoughts, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her, just as Su Qingyuan thought. The woman had a cold face, with a clean ponytail and wearing a leather jacket. She was indeed Oni-san. Be able to communicate with me, the next thing is simple, try to maintain this state for a long time, so as to gain my strength. Oni-san said calmly. Su Qingyuan blinked her eyes. What level of guardian spirit are you? Although you can go to the martial arts gym or some special places to help awaken the guardian spirit, many people still awaken the guardian spirit accidentally. Just go to a place like the martial arts hall, you can stimulate by some means, and the speed of awakening in advance. From your human plan, I should be considered god of war level strength. Gao Lang Oni-san said indifferently, as if he didn't think this was such a powerful level. But the girl Su Qingyuan was shocked not lightly. War, god of war class. Gao Lang Oni-san nodded calmly, and then began to teach some basic attempts. Only then did Su Qingyuan know why she was so weak during this time. It turns out that her guardian spirit needs some essence to fully awaken, and then it can be maintained by absorbing spiritual qi. In about an hour, Su Qingyuan finally got out of that strange state. Although the body was still a little tired, the excitement in his heart completely covered it up. Su Qingyuan rushed out of the dormitory excitedly and went straight to the library. In a corner of the library, Xiaonian Shuizheng squinted through some books about guardian spirits. She would check these materials here when she was free for a few days. One was because of her good friend Su Nianzu's abnormal condition, and the other was because she wanted to know whether she could awaken the guardian spirit. This is what Big Brother wants to do most. What Qinming can't do, she will do it. Nianzu. Xiao Nianzu was fascinated by reading, but she didn't realize that Su Qingyuan had quietly approached her. Ah, what's the matter? After being pushed by Su Qingyuan, Nianzu raised her head blankly. Xiao Nuan, why are you here? Tell you good news. Su Qingyuan looked very excited. I can already communicate with the guardian spirit. As soon as this remark came out, Qin Nianzu, who is a good best friend, was also happy for her, and Su Qingyuan said for a moment of surprise. Nianzu, let me ask about your situation. Then Su Qingyuan tried to contact own guardian spirit to see if he could detect Qin Nianzu's situation. And Xiao Nianzu was also nervous, her hands kept sweating. After all, it is a guardian spirit of god of war level. After a little inspection, it is found that there is a fluctuation in the amount of guardian spirit power in the snow body. Although it is very weak, it does exist. This is a sign of awakening the guardian spirit. After telling Nianzu the good news, the little girl couldn't believe it. Really, I can also awaken the guardian spirit. Of course, Oni-san can be a god of war guardian spirit, so I definitely won't feel wrong. Su Qingyuan smiled. Xiao Nianzu was extremely excited. She didn't expect she could awaken any high-level guardian spirit at all, as long as she could awaken it was enough. No, I must tell my brother the good news. With that, Nianzu girl suddenly got up and rushed out, followed by Su Qingyuan, who was staggering. Hey, wait for me. After a while, Nianzu rushed to the hotel panting. There was no business in the store. Qinming was playing poker with Chen Gui and Huo Qingqing. Stickers on the faces of the losers. Compared with an old fairy who has been in stock for thousands of years, Chen Gui is not so special as a lucky man for 2 generations. At this time, Chen Gui had almost no stickers on his face. Haha, Wang fried, I only have 1 card left. Qinming put a card in his hand on the table and laughed. It's boring, it's like this again. Huo Qingqing said in a bad mood, and reluctantly put a note on his delicate forehead. On the other hand, Chen Gui was lost in thought with the note in his hand. He is considering where to post it. Brother, there is great news. Xiao Nianzu cried out to Qinming's ear. Qinming was almost taken aback. What good news? Hee, I seem to be able to awaken the guardian spirit. Boom, Qinming got up suddenly, because he was so excited, he almost knocked the table over. Real, his face was full of excitement, and he couldn't help but rushed forward and hugged Nianzu. Ha ha ha, the old Qin family has finally developed a guardian spirit. Nianzu was equally excited, her eyes were red, and she hugged Qinming tightly. The hard days of these years have finally come to an end. Qinming never thought that his little sister could awaken the guardian spirit. In his opinion, no matter what, it is enough for 2 people to live happily. Now that he knows the good news, Qinming is in a good mood, and is hurriedly preparing to go shopping for groceries and make a good meal in the evening. Yo, what good news, so excited. Niu Junda just walked into the store. Old Chin, did you have another big meal tonight? Haha, sir, Nianzu is afraid that she can awaken the guardian spirit. Chin Ming is in a good mood today and directly calls Niu Junda an old cow. Niu Junda's expression twitched, and the name, Lao Niu, was a bit twisted, but it didn't matter. This was the first time that Chin Ming had such a cordial relationship with him, so he didn't care at all. Good thing, it happens that Nianzu is at Donghai University and can transfer to Guardian Academy. Niu Junda smiled. Let's talk about it. Chin Ming waved his hand and rushed out of the restaurant. He was going to buy many delicacies of mountains and seas to celebrate. Oni-san in Su Qingyuan's body scoffed at this. It's just awakening a guardian spirit. Are you so excited? Oni-san said coldly in his heart. Besides, not all guardian spirits are suitable for fighting. Don't be happy too early. She had observed that the people in the store were ordinary people, and there was no power fluctuation at all. But in fact, no one could see Chin Ming's strength due to system reasons, and Huo Qingqing was a terrifying demon. As long as she wanted to, the emperor level couldn't see through it. At this moment, Yang Qianqin also walked in. Her face was very surprised. Why did Chin Ming go? How can he run as fast as a rabbit? Yang big sis, I am about to awaken the guardian spirit, so my brother is so excited. Nianzu laughed. Yang Qianqin raised her brows. Oh, let big sis take a look. This girl Nianzu, Yang Qianqin had seen it several times when she came over, and she seemed to be familiar with each other. At this time, being assigned here to monitor the evil spirits, Yang Qianqin naturally wanted to slowly infiltrate it, just in time for her to discover this opportunity. Grasping Xiao Nianzu's wrist, Yang Qianqin's spirit power went deep into it, and she found the breath of the guardian spirit that was slowly awakening. Only, this breath is too weak. According to Yang Qianqin's experience over the years, this is at best a bronze guardian spirit, and his qualifications are not very good. Of course, although she knew this, she wouldn't speak out against Xiao Nianzu. Yes, I will be fully awakened in 3 or 5 days. Yang Qianqin smiled faintly, and cheered for Xiao Nianzu at the same time. It just happened that the girl was so excited now that the relationship between the two had improved a lot. Yang big sis, sit down first, and I will pour you water. Xiao Nianzu was very diligent, and Yang Qianqin couldn't help but nodded in her heart, and at the same time compared her brother. Ah, why is the gap between siblings so big? Yang Qianqin could vaguely remember the sign that had been hung at the door before, and she was annoyed when she thought of this, so she subconsciously looked in the direction of the counter but didn't find Huo Qingqing. But in perception, Huo Qingqing is in the back kitchen. No matter, it's unlucky to share such a task. With a whisper in her heart, Yang Qianqin sat in the restaurant and chatted with everyone. During the period, her guardian spirit was shocked to find that Zhou Wei's spiritual qi was very rich and pure. After feeling it, Yang Qianqin also noticed this, and at the same time looked at the canopy exposed from the tall fence across the street. It's strange, a tree can actually make the surrounding spiritual qi so pure. After studying for half a night in the air, Yang Qianqin did not see any way out, and at the same time Chin Ming came back with a lot of good food. Seeing Yang Qianqin, Chin Ming rarely said this time in anger, but instead invited the other party to stay to finish the meal. Today was to celebrate for the girl Nianzu, so naturally we couldn't be in the restaurant. At the moment, a group of people followed Chin Ming into the small courtyard. After entering, the goal is a large area of cherry blossom trees. These cherry blossoms are growing very vigorously, it can be said that the eyes are full of pink. Suddenly, there was a series of exclamations. However, Yang Qianqin's gaze fell on the towering tree, and after careful inspection, she also found no problems. Asking casually, Chin Ming said that he bought this tree outside, and he liked it at first glance. In response, Yang Qianqin curled his lips, it makes me very rare. In contrast, Niu Junda is very insightful, and constantly praises Chin Ming for his unique vision, and compliments like this make Chin Ming very useful. Of course, Chin Ming personally cooked the dinner. The food was delicious, and everyone actually came to a CD-ROM action. After the meal, a group of people chatted a few words, and finally left the scene slowly. In the evening, Chin Ming again took Huo Qingqing to leave the small yard, ready to wait for an opportunity to find some staff but those guys were very hidden, and they didn't gain anything for 2 hours. Back home, Qinming appeared in Xiao Nianzhu's room. This girl slept very heavily, with a smile on her small face, obviously because she was about to awaken the guardian spirit. Qinming naturally understood what the little girl was thinking, and couldn't help feeling warm. Look at what level of guardian spirit this girl can awaken. Qinming murmured. Spirit power plunged into Xiao Nianzhu's body, and his expression was wonderful. With his strength, he can naturally see the level of the guardian spirit that is about to awaken, and Qinming couldn't help but to be accustomed to big scenes. Sure enough, the qualifications of the old Qin family are not good. Qinming looked helpless. It seemed that it was not accidental that he could not awaken the guardian spirit, it was absolutely inevitable. But Qinming didn't care. He never wanted Xiao Nianzhu to awaken the guardian spirit. He just wanted this girl to spend her life safely and steadily. Looking at Xiao Nianzhu, who was asleep, Qinming walked out after gently covering her with a petting smile. Time flickered, and 3 days passed. During this period, everything was plain and plain. Niu Junda would still come to the store to talk a few words every day, and Yang Qianqin was also added. Qinming didn't know what the woman was doing. She appeared in the store more and more frequently, and she stayed in the store longer and longer. The longest time was even an afternoon. It is worth mentioning that the business in the store has improved slightly in recent days. It has been a long time since there have been any signs of evil spirits in Hyaming Street, and the surrounding residents have slowly begun to become normal. Shops have opened one after another, and the whole street has once again returned to the old scene. This morning, after Xiao Nianzhu woke up, she was pleasantly surprised to find that she had awakened the guardian spirit. This made the little girl so happy that she was showing off at Qinming for a long time. Qinming was overwhelmed by this, and said that if possible, he could consider transferring the little girl to the Guardian Academy. In Donghai University, Su Qingyuan was also excited after learning the news, and the two girls chatted together and talked endlessly. And Su Qingyuan's Oni-san guardian spirit just glanced at Xiao Nianzhu and smiled disdainfully. A mere bronze guardian spirit, I don't know how excited you are. Even this Oni-san told Su Qingyuan, you two will not be people in the same world after all. Anyway, you will be separated. Why are you so close now? Although Oni-san was not optimistic about Xiao Nianzhu, Su Qingyuan ignored it. What does this have to do? Although Nianzhu awakens only the bronze guardian spirit, it doesn't mean that she won't be able to achieve it in the future. Many strong people are also promoted from the bronze guardian spirit. Faced with Su Qingyuan's remarks, Oni-san said that he was speechless and did not continue to bother. At night, Xiao Nianzhu, who had been trying to communicate with the guardian spirit all day, was very tired and fell asleep early. Not long after she fell asleep, Qinming's figure appeared in the room. He squinted, and with such a move, Xiao Nianzhu's awakened guardian spirit was directly forcibly pulled into Qinming's guardian spirit space. What? A cute black and white kitten appeared in Qinming's guardian spirit space, and his face was dumbfounded when he had just awakened. When it came back to its senses, it was shocked to find that all around was extremely terrifying. Suddenly he curled up with fear, and his big eyes were full of fear. Oh, this little sheik looks pretty stuff. The kitten suddenly found that the light in front of him was completely blocked, and a big eye that was several times larger than his body was staring at it. Ooh, please don't eat me. In an instant, the kitten who had just awakened cried. It is just a bronze kitten that has just awakened. Why is it treated like this? Not to mention the terrifying existence around him, just the eyeball in front of him that is several times larger than himself is scary enough. Wow! With an exclamation, the kitty was so scared that she passed out. Huh, it's dizzy, so casual. The owner of the big eyeball is naturally Beiming Kunpeng, and at this time it is also surprised. I was thinking of teasing the kitten, but it seemed that something went wrong with the opening method. I've said it, don't let you mess around, let's do it now, just faint. There was a calm voice. Bay's lion appeared beside the kitten. He stretched out his hoof and touched it lightly. As a result, there was no response, apparently he passed out completely. Is it wrong to be a little fatter? Beiming Kunpeng opened his huge eyes. You are not fat. Qinming's conscious form appeared on the side, and he squeezed the fur on the back of the kitten's neck to lift it up, and then he slowly stretched out his hand. Snapped. gently patted the kitten's ass with very light force, but the kitten screamed and woke up. When it saw several big guys around, its eyes were suddenly filled with mist. Hey, don't eat me, I didn't do anything, don't be like this. Qin raised his eyebrows slightly. You are too courageous. In fact, it wasn't that the kitten was timid, but the aura from the guardian spirits around was too terrifying. After looking at the kitten, Qin slowly said, your strength is a bit weak, so next, we will help you ascension. Don't say a word about what happened today, otherwise. As soon as Qin finished speaking, Beiming Kunpeng nearby laughed happily, and suddenly scared the kitten to tremble. The reason why Xiao Nianzu's guardian spirit was pulled out, Qin wanted to ascension strength for it. After all, the strength of the bronze rank was too low, and it was still a kitten, so the strength was naturally weak. Now that Xiao Nianzu has awakened the guardian spirit, she can't watch her as a big brother, right? Somehow help me. I can't say a word. The kitten almost cried, but it didn't dare to be swallowed directly after crying. Qin nodded. It seemed that this product was very cooperative. The next thing is very simple. Beiming Kunpeng and Bei's lion unite and directly force the realm of Ascension Kitty. The two god-level bosses will naturally have no side effects. The kitten's strength is rising rapidly, bronze level, warlord level, god of war level. In the end, it stabilized in the realm of the intermediate god of war, but because the ascension was too fast, this little guy obviously couldn't stand it, and then Bei's lion took another shot to suppress some of its realm. After that, you only need to absorb the spiritual chi released by the Chaos God Tree, and then ascension can slowly come up. At the same time, Qin also discovered that he seemed to have wrongly blamed the little cat. Originally, he thought that this guy was not strong, and his ability was very tasteless, but after learning about it, he realized that this guy is actually a battle guardian of the power system. It can make Xiao Nianzu's reaction speed ascension several times. If adding its exaggerated power, Xiao Nianzu has almost become a humanoid weapon, the kind of torn up with bare hands. Knowing this, Qin couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Good fellow, where does this strength come from your small body? Qin asked in surprise. Bei's lion said calmly, its blood is quite special. There are some white tiger bloodlines. As the four divine beasts, white tiger has such strength. It is not surprising. Hearing this, Qin frowned. After checking in and clocking in these several times, Qin found that the guardian spiritual roots of his awakening were originally in the myth system of his previous life. Bei's lion, Beiming Kunpeng, Gemengguan. What is even more exaggerated is the god of chaos tree. It is said that this product was there when chaos was born, and its strength was quite powerful. I couldn't help but make Qin wonder whether he would awaken the existence of the myth system in the future. If this is the case, he really can't even think about it. Shaking his head, Qin consciously pulled out of the guardian spirit space, and at the same time returned the little cat, and then left contentedly. In the middle of the night, in the dense forest outside Donghai City, the spiritual chi here has been thinned to an alarming level. The fierce beasts around could not bear this situation for a long time, and began to furiously riot. If the spiritual chi here completely disappears, I don't know what will happen. In the morning, Xiao Nianzu was in surprise again, and she realized that she could communicate with the guardian spirit. And it's a very cute kitty. Xiao Nianzu was so excited that she pulled Qin to show off, bluntly saying that this was the result of her hard work yesterday. Naturally, Qin would not tell the truth. Yes, Nianzu's talent in our family is too great. No, I have to transfer you to a guardian spiritual academy. Xiao Nianzu didn't mean to refuse, so the two brothers and sisters went to go through the formalities that day. During this period, Su Qingyuan's Oni-san guardian spirit was shocked. Impossible, it was still bronze level yesterday, how can I become a warlord in one night? This is simply a fantasy thing. Look, I said Nianzu has unlimited potential. Su Qingyuan was happy for her friend. Oni-san sneered. It is estimated that some special bloodline is activated, but the starting point is so low, and it is estimated that it will stop at the general level. It is impossible to want ascension to be god of war level without 10 or 8 years. Quote. The Guardian Spirit Academy is of course willing to accept 2 new students. Their admission criteria is that they have awakened the Guardian Spirit, even if they are a black iron rank. After all, this is cultivating talents for the country. After completing the formalities, Xiaonianzu officially became a student of the Guardian Academy. Qinming didn't stay too much, and walked slowly back to the hotel. At this moment, the entire East Sea city suddenly sounded a harsh alarm. Panic and riot spread all over the city. This is the alarm of the animal tide. The East Sea City Guarding Bureau has become a mess, and almost all the strong men that can be mobilized have rushed to the west of the city, and the beast tide over there has already attacked in a big way. Fierce beasts and evil spirits run rampant, and group attacks will erupt from time to time. Beast tides and spiritual riots have the same attributes. In contrast, the destructive power of beast tides is more terrifying. Wherever the beast wave passed, there was a ruin. Hundreds of years after the revival of spiritual qi, there have been no less than 500 animal tides of all sizes in China, and it can be considered as a lot of experience to deal with it. Sun Shouheng and the 4 highest combat forces immediately rushed to the front line. Behind them were all the guards of the entire East Sea City, and even some logistics personnel began to evacuate the crowd. Facing the attack of a beast like a tide, Sun Shouheng looked solemn. Now the tide of beasts has not reached Donghai City, and only some villages in the periphery have suffered. Fortunately, the people in the villages have been evacuated long ago. Standing on a commanding height, the 4 of them looked tense when they watched the dark wave of fierce beasts. Gudong, I don't know who swallowed. Boss, can you stand it? Song Tiandong's voice trembled a little. He is only in his 30s. Before that, a beast wave had never occurred in a small city like East Sea City, and his understanding of beast wave was only seen in some videos on Guangbrain. Really, when he faced the beast tide, his legs were numb with fear when he looked at the soaring hostility. Hey, this is nowhere, but it's just a small-scale beast tide of more than 1,000 beasts. What can't stand it? Fan Junction was indifferent. From the side, Sun Shouheng nodded. This is not an irresistible scene, but every time a beast tide, many brothers will sacrifice. He and Fan Junction are the same group of people who graduated from the Guardian Academy, and have experienced many situations, large and small, and even more crisis situations have occurred, not to mention this small beast tide. Even though the beast tide is very fierce, but at best, there are no more than 1,000 beasts, and all the guardians of the entire East Sea City add up to more than these beasts. The only thing to worry about is the first wave of the beast wave. If it can be blocked, the following things will be relatively simple. But if it is not blocked, and the beast tide rushes to disperse the line, it will be very troublesome behind. The casualties will be heavy in the end. Attention everyone, be sure to use all your strength to release all ranged attacks before the arrival of the beast tide. Sun Shouheng shouted. In addition, all the weapons in the back must be fired at me. Thermal weapons are still quite powerful for the beast horde. Swipe, various weapons were loaded, and the sound of light cannon activation came. As the tide of beasts continued to advance, Sun Shouheng looked at the right time and gave an order. All weapons fire. Boom. All kinds of light cannons fired directly, and the dazzling light appeared on the field. The thermal weapons of this era are no longer gunpowder weapons, but are electromagnetic kinetic energy or laser weapons. For the animal tide, the group damage they cause is much stronger than that of the guardians. The light cannon passed through the beast tide, and directly penetrated all the many beasts in a straight line. After several rounds of volleys, the beast tide was obviously loosened. But at the same time, the violent beasts have rushed up, and as they trampled wildly, the place they passed was a mess. Many buildings in the front of the buffer area collapsed and were directly crushed by the beast tide. Block. Sun Shouheng let out a loud bang, and the long sword in his hand swept across sword ray in the air. At the same time, the guardians all used various long-range methods, among which there were many large-scale attacks, and they were capable of overturning at least a dozen fierce beasts at a time. Yang Qianqin was even more fierce. She hovered directly in the air, crossed her hands, and then suddenly let go. A red flame carrying a terrifying heat erupted. Where the flame passed, it was scorched and the beast screamed again and again. But in the face of such an attack, the fierce beasts seemed to have no feeling at all, and they were about to rush forward. Fortunately, the intensity of the beast tide is relatively small, and there are many guardians on the East Sea City. The first wave of impact can be considered as blocking. And then, there was a big melee. The fierce beasts rushed into the city, and the guardians dispersed. In groups of 3 to 5, they continued to kill the beasts that rushed into the city. Among them, there are also guards falling down at all times, and the battle is extremely tragic. The only thing that can relax people is that all the people around here are evacuated, and the guards can concentrate on fighting. To the east of the city, near Hyaming Street, Qinming frowned when he heard the alarm sounded in the city. If it is said that the most destructive and threatening situation to the city, it is the animal tide. Although Qinming has not experienced a real beast tide, he can probably imagine what kind of scene it was after having encountered a spiritual riot in the far north before. He immediately decided to take a look, definitely not because of the beautiful sound of the system in his mind. Event Mission, the first stage of the East China Sea City Beast Tide. Help the Guardian to resist the animal tide, complete the task to reward the first stage gift package. After the completion of the first stage mission, the second stage mission will be activated. This was the first time Qinming received a sub-task, and it was only to help resist the animal tide. It couldn't be simpler. Afterwards, Qinming contacted Huo Qingqing through the master-servant contract and asked her to go to Tunghai University to protect Xiaonianzhu secretly. After that, Qinming instantly disappeared in place and reappeared, already on the edge of the fierce battlefield. The intensity of this beast wave is not an irresistible existence, but it will be difficult to resist. Although there are only more than 1,000 beasts, the force that they rushed up is not to be underestimated. At this time, the line has been broken up, and the guards are also retreating steadily. After all, they really have to stay in the front. Is it to die? Qinming could still see God of War guardians such as Sun Shouheng in the distance, dragging a few God of War beasts. There are only 4 God of War levels on the human side, and on the side of the fierce beasts, there are at least a dozen. Sun Shouheng and others are basically a 1-to-5 situation, which is very tricky. Looking around, Qinming found that the situation had been controlled a lot, and only a few of the beasts broke into the city after breaking up the line. He stretched out his hand very casually, and smashed all the murderers who rushed past, and then he continued to help secretly with a cigarette in his mouth. Qinming's spiritual thoughts can completely cover the entire battlefield. For example, when some fierce beasts are about to injure the Guardian, he will secretly use his strength to imprison the fierce beasts. Unless it is an emergency, he will not kill the beasts directly. Otherwise, isn't this just telling others that there is a problem? At the same time, Qinming is also paying attention to Sun Shouheng and others. These 4 guys are very powerful, but it seems that Song Tiandong's strength can only be evaluated by mediocrity. Yang Qianchen's hand was wrapped in a red high-temperature flame. He attacked the fierce beast very powerfully. Basically, the fierce beast couldn't do it with a few fists. But on the other hand, Song Tiandong, this guy played against the 3 fierce beasts alone. It seemed very difficult, and he was almost injured several times. Shaking his head, Qinming clenched his left hand slightly. A spatial fluctuation appeared on the battlefield, and many fierce beasts were secretly killed, looking like they were dying in a melee, without any clues. For the secret operation of Own, Qinming said, 1 word. Perfect. What is deep possession of merit and fame? What is low-key? Qinming interpreted these perfectly, and after he joined, there was no guardian death. If this continues, within half an hour, the animal tide will be completely cleaned up. But at this moment, Qinming frowned suddenly and looked into the distance. His divine consciousness covers a wide range. Normally, Qinming would not use this method, but once the divine consciousness is covered, everything in this area cannot escape Qinming's perception. At this time, he found 2 sneaky traces behind the beast tide. The 2 guys hid beside a ruin, with their hands constantly placing something on the ground. Move a little numb, quickly arrange the space channel, and take advantage of this opportunity to collect more souls. Do you think I don't want to hurry up? Can you stop talking without backache? The feelings are not arranged by you. Hurry up, the speed is slow. These humans have cleaned up those stupid and fierce beasts. While the 2 were talking, they kept putting some materials on the ground. Just when the so-called space channel was about to be arranged, a voice suddenly came up on the side. Why is the speed so slow, and haven't gotten it right? The guy who was placing the materials said impatiently, Go on, it's going to be done soon, don't bother me. As soon as he finished speaking, the man realized that it was wrong. How come the good guy has a third party? The 2 hurriedly reacted and turned their heads to look aside, only to see a human standing beside them with a sunny smile on their faces. Suddenly, the two guys were frightened. "How did you come here?" the person in charge of placing things exclaimed. He didn't even notice anyone coming by his side. "The person here is naturally Qin Ming. Of course I came here. Tusk. I have to say that the efficiency of the two of you is too low, and you haven't gotten it right after waiting for a long time." Qin Ming kept shaking his head. "HMPH, even mere mortals dare to come and make trouble." The other guy snorted coldly, stood up suddenly, raised his palm, and carried a strong breath towards Qin Ming's head. This attack strength was at least at the advanced god of war level, but for Qin Ming, it was simply too weak. He didn't even bother to do it. He released some power and easily blocked the opponent's attack. This force even shook the guy out directly. The force of the vibration caused some materials placed on the ground to be shattered, and the guy who was reaching out to put things stayed in place. "Who are you?" The guy presenting the stuff became angry and stood up and shouted, "Do you know what you did? This is an instruction from Lord Rage God." It angered Lord Rage God. 100 lives are not enough for you to die. Quote. Qin Ming's expression was indifferent. "What kind of bullshit? There is a kind of, you let him come out to see me." These two goods are not very strong, and judging from the dull look, they are obviously like Xiaoyu's characters, but Qin Ming has not discovered where the real behind-the-scenes master is. "Wow, dare to humiliate Lord Anger, I'm fighting with you." The guy rushed straight towards Qin Ming, and as a result, naturally he flew out with a scream. Qin Ming raised his brows slightly. "Let's talk about it. What do you want to do here?" I don't know if it was due to pressure or Qin Ming had beaten the two in a daze, and the two of them sat in place without any response. Just when Qin Ming was about to continue speaking, the ground suddenly vibrated violently. Boom! About a kilometer in front of Qin Ming, a beam of light suddenly rose up to the sky. The beam of light was scarlet, and a strong bloody breath instantly filled the surroundings. "What is that? What a strong spirit-body fluctuation. This is especially a spatial channel connecting the spirit-body space. It's getting old, and the beast tide hasn't been dealt with. Why is there another spiritual riot?" Many guardians who were desperately blocking the tide of beasts stood dumbfounded. Now the tide of beasts is troublesome enough. If the spirit riot occurs again, Donghai City is afraid that it will suffer heavy losses. Sun Shouheng and others responded immediately. Yang Qianqin screamed angrily, and his whole body was wrapped in red high-temperature flames, and then he rushed towards the three fierce beasts in front of him. Although these fierce beasts were of god of war level strength, they couldn't resist the terrifying heat of Yang Qianqin's body, and they were burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. In the next second, Yang Qianqin rushed to the light beam of the spirit body riot without turning his head back. At the same time, Fan Junction left the current battle and followed Yang Qianqin. The spirit body riots must not be allowed to occur on a large scale, otherwise, at least half of the guardians present will be killed or injured, and the entire East Sea City will be devastated. In the blink of an eye, the two rushed to the beam of light. At this time, there were hundreds of evil spirits rushing out of the beam of light, and there were miserable ghosts crying and howling wolves everywhere. It is not an exaggeration to say that this is a scene of purgatory. "Flame bird, come out!" Yang Qianqin screamed, and the amount of internal energy ran away in an instant. At the same time, a red phantom appeared behind her, and finally condensed into a flame bird with wings spread at least 20 meters in size. The guardian can not only use the power of the guardian spirit, but also can summon the guardian spirit to fight together. The divine bird screamed in the sky, and the high-temperature flame on its body hit the ground like raindrops. All the evil spirits affected by the attachment of the sacred fire can only howl miserably, and finally burned into nothingness. Fan Junction also shot with all his strength. He also summoned his own guardian spirit, which was a hammer. The hammer exudes a terrifying aura of destruction, and then, I saw Fan Junction lift a sledgehammer and slam it towards the ground, and the mountain collapsed in an instant. With just one hammer, at least hundreds of evil spirits were wiped out. This is the full combat power of the God of War Guardians. With full strength, those evil spirits can only wait to die. But there were too many evil spirits in the spirit riot. Although the two of them continued to release big moves, there was a little bit of a drop in the bucket after all, and evil spirits kept rushing out of the beam of light. With a clear goal, they went straight to the East Sea City front. "I can't stop it at all, Call for support. Yang Qianshan's eyes were red, and another fireball hit the ground. Suddenly, a large swarm of evil spirits died tragically. It's not that they haven't thought of destroying this space channel, but they are not enough, let alone destroyed. Whether it can be shaken is a problem. Sun Shoheng didn't froze either, and he asked for support while fighting, but when the incident happened suddenly, it would take at least 2 hours for the nearest strong man to rush over. Perhaps, then the entire East Sea City will be destroyed. Ha ha ha, it succeeded over there. In one corner, the two who were shot flying by Qin Ming laughed excitedly. Qin Ming casually took the power of the space, and the two of them couldn't laugh out loudly, and their bodies slowly turned into flying ashes. This is your purpose, Qin Ming murmured, although it's really amazing, don't you think of me as heir? When the voice fell, Qin Ming raised his head to look at the blood-red beam of light, and an extremely majestic aura gradually emerged on his body. At this time, near the beam of light, many guardians rushed out of the beast tide and came to help Yang Qianshan. Fighting evil spirits is more troublesome than fighting fierce beasts. The fierce beasts look reckless and have no brains, but the evil spirits are different. They are fast and have tricky methods. Ever since, Sun Shoheng and Song Tiandong also rushed over after repelling a few fierce beasts, wanting to deal with the evil spirits first. The scene is very stale for a while, but fortunately these evil spirits and beasts are not organized, otherwise, the difficulty will be several times more difficult. On a high mountain not far away, two figures were hiding under a light blue light curtain. It is precisely because of this light curtain that no one can find them. Angry God, your plan is not good. A young man who looked no more than 17 or 18 years old, said this lazily. The angry God sneered, the plan is just to create chaos. When there is no order in this small town, that is the best time for us to take action. Why hasn't there been any news about that idiot Bai Yingwu these days? The young man suddenly raised his eyebrows. Don't worry about him, the intermediate level is just a cannon fodder. This time the chaos is over, and we can welcome Lord Demon God. Anger God said, a look of excitement appeared in his eyes. The young man shook his head, hey, why don't you always listen to my advice? There is a cruel guy in East Sea City. We will not be opponents. Ha, Beimao, I think you are scared, just a mere human, how can you be the opponent of Lord Demon God? Angrily sneered, in his opinion, this white-haired boy is a coward at all. Beimao sighed, obviously didn't want to say anything to the angry God. In his mind, the scenes he saw that day appeared constantly, and the powerful heavenly demon, who was much stronger than him, was easily slapped to death by that guy. It's as simple as slapping a fly. Suddenly, there was a strange wangming between heaven and earth, which made people trance. At the same time, both the white hair and the angry God both changed their faces and their eyes were full of shock. Because they felt a breath of horror to heart palpitations, at the same time, Haoran's coercion fell on the entire battlefield. How is this possible? Angrily said in a daze. Beimao immediately realized what was going on, it must be that ruthless person appeared. Your mother's kiss, you're an idiot, Daddy said don't mess around, let's do it now, it really brought that ruthless person out. Beimao scolded angrily at the god of anger. At this moment, it is not just the two of them, it can be said that everyone on the entire battlefield feels such a terrifying breath. All guardians only feel that the guardian spirit of On is trembling from the soul. Then, in the eyes of everyone, I don't know when a thin blue line has appeared above the sky. These thin lines slowly condensed, everyone only felt that the light in front of them was dark, and finally, a giant appeared in the sky. That is a big terrifying bird that can cover the sky. Seeing this godlike creature, Yang Qianshan was dumbfounded, and the flame bird who was fighting next to her trembled with fright, and went straight back. What kind of creature is this? My mother, this is too big. Look, what is it doing? Amidst many shocking discussions, the wings of the Dapeng in the sky shook. Suddenly a violent wind blows, and the power that can cut all the space comes from top to bottom in an instant. Puff puff puff. The fierce beast in the violent raging is like a piece of tofu, which is easily cut into pieces, while the evil spirit is shattered into a cloud of smoke in an instant. The fierce beasts and evil spirits did not even have a chance to wile, and they disappeared without a trace. For a moment, the audience was deadly silent. The scene of the chaos was just now, and now there are only many guardians with bewildered faces. The expressions on their faces are almost the same. Who am I? Where am I? Where is the fierce beast in front of me? Everything came too fast, so fast that no one could react to it, one or the other, but there was no other way around. Anger and Beiming petrified on the spot. Beiming kept swallowing saliva even more. He knew that the ruthless man was terrifying, but he didn't expect to be so terrible. It's over, everything is over. Beiming grabbed his hair angrily. 1 month of hard work, because of a decision made by you idiot, it's all ruined. An angry expression was embarrassed, and he stared blankly at the blue rock in the sky. What are you doing in a daze? Don't hurry up, wait for death. Beiming roared, grabbed the shoulder of the angry god and disappeared in place. On the battlefield, the guardians also awakened one after another, and then burst into cheers. The beast tide is blocked. Obviously the rock bird in the sky helped. Although I don't know what the situation is, it is clear that the rock bird must be the guardian spirit of some existence. After dealing with these fierce beasts and evil spirits, Dapeng quickly dissipated, as if it had never appeared before. Qinming nodded secretly. At this time, Beiming Kunpeng was more capable. Although it is good to directly pull out the ghost gate and suppress the audience, but the temperament of the ghost gate is really not flattering, and it may be regarded as a person on the side of the evil spirit. Shrugging his shoulders, Qinming listened to the beautiful voice of the system in his mind, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Complete the first stage mission and reward a first stage gift package. Does the host open the gift package? Qinming turned it on without even thinking about it. In an instant, he only felt a dazzling light flashing in front of his eyes. Congratulations to the host for getting a chance to upgrade the system. The system is being upgraded. It is estimated to take time 2359. Qinming was stunned directly, and such a thing came out of the gift package. Upgrading your uncle, shouldn't it be a good baby? Qinming roared in his heart. However, the system did not respond. Obviously, it was in a dead state during the upgrade. For a moment, Qinming scratched his head and scratched his head. I am so angry. With grief and anger in his heart, Qinming disappeared directly. He just feels wronged, and finally got a big gift package, and finally opened up a system upgrade opportunity. The system must have deliberately cheated him. Qinming felt bitter in his heart, and he felt that there was no point in staying here. On the battlefield, all the guardians cheered. They blocked this seemingly impossible beast wave and spiritual riot. They were not excited at this time, when Sun Shouheng and others were dumbfounded, because they didn't even know what happened. Fan Junction, the only one with a slight eyebrow, didn't say a word. At this time, it is best to pretend to be stupid and not to leak the wind. Qinming sitting behind the counter was very depressed. This time it could be said that none of the benefits have been obtained, and the system has given them one. Anyway, there were tens of thousands of credits in the big gift package, which was better than the current one. Although Qinming didn't know what would happen after the system was upgraded, he still felt that this wave of blood loss. The kind of huge loss. While sighing, Qinming took another look at today's performance in the store. Good fellow, that was even more chilling. However, Qinming was surprised that a lot of customers suddenly came to the store not long after. It is said that they came to celebrate because of the victory against the animal tide today. Boss, your store's taste is well known, so I came here to taste it. It's not a loss this time, it tastes great, you still know how to cook. These days, there aren't many restaurants that can think of you for manual cooking. The atmosphere in the shop was very lively, and Qinming was naturally happy, and he actually started chatting with these guests. Although Donghai City has not experienced beast tides or spiritual riots for nearly 50 years, everything seems to be normal in this day and age. Today, when there is a small-scale animal tide, the people in the city are quite open. Not long after, a small truck suddenly stopped outside, and a shiny bald head got out of the car. Hey, it's really miserable. I've run into the beasts. I actually have to deliver goods, and I don't even have time to rest. Li Bald sighed. He didn't have time to eat after a busy day. The only lucky thing was that he was busy in the east of the city today, and the beast wave did not affect him. As soon as he walked into the hotel, he saw Qinming, who was chatting enthusiastically with the guests. Qinming. Li Baldo immediately gritted his teeth. Since he became a truck driver, his resentment towards Qin Ming has been deepening, and he has hated it to his bones. Seeing Qin Ming at this time, I wanted to go straight up and crush him. Qin Ming looked up and saw that Li was bald, and he was immediately happy. Oh, isn't this our director Li? Are you experiencing life as a driver now? Qin Ming sneered. Li Bald glanced at his truck driver's overalls, and was dumbfounded. I blame you, if it weren't for you, how could I be like this? Li Bald and gritted his teeth. Qin Ming sneered. That's what you should, what does it have to do with me? At this time Chen Gui also walked out of the counter. He was already burly in shape and his skin was a little dark, but his black face was even more frightening at this time. Then what do you want to do? Chen Gui rubbed his palms while looking at Li Bald. Li Bald was not scared by Chen Gui. In this broad daylight, he did not dare to mess with Chen Gui. I really thought I was not the supervisor, so I can't do anything with you. Li Bald sneered. A hotel waiter, I have a way to clean up you. As he said, he sat down on the chair. What are you doing in a daze? Do you have the consciousness of being a waiter? Chen Guiqi's body was trembling, and when he was about to step forward to teach the bald man a lesson, Qin Ming stopped him. Sorry, we won't entertain you in our store, Qin Ming said with a smile. Oh, when does a waiter dare to talk to guests like this? Li Bald sneered. Let your boss come out. If I don't let you lose your job and go begging outside today, I will give your last name. Qin Ming smiled as soon as he said this. The smile was called sunshine. Those diners next to him were also stunned. He was afraid that there was something wrong with his brain. He pointed to the boss and said to let the boss come out. I'm sorry again, I am the boss. You, Li Bald smiled contemptuously and looked up and down Qin Ming. If you are the boss like you, I will be the chairman of a listed company. Puff ha ha ha, this one is kind of funny. No way, boss, the service in your store is too attentive. Even if the food is delicious, you still bring live sketches to perform. Many diners couldn't help but laugh. Li Bald was taken aback for a moment. He felt that things were not as simple as he thought. At this time, Niu Junda walked in with a tired body, and he heard a lot of laughter as soon as he came in, and he was also curious. Old Qin, what's the fun thing? At this time, Niu Junda had just stepped down from the front line, and he had not had time to change his guardian's overalls. Successfully resisting the animal tide today, the Guardian Bureau specially gave everyone a holiday to relax them. It's nothing, just an old friend came to the store, Qin Ming said with a smile. In fact, after experiencing all these things, Qin Ming no longer cared about a small role like Li Baldo. Don't look at what existence he is dealing with. Li Bald was silly. When did Qin Ming become so powerful that he could actually make friends with the Guardian? Before he could react, a figure came out from the back kitchen holding a plate. Seeing this person, Li Bald had suddenly stood upright and his spine became cold. He swears that he will never forget that face in his life. You. Li Bald pointed at Huo Qingqing, his face pale. Huo Qingqing glanced at it, and soon remembered who it was, then the corner of his mouth smiled playfully, and even cast a wink at Li Bald. Such charming eyes should have made people excited. But in the eyes of Li Bald, how can it be called a wink? It is a series of eye-catching eyes. Li Baldly stood up and pointed at Huo Qingqing with a trembling hand, and then looked at Niu Junda with horror on his face. She is an evil spirit, catch her quickly. Speaking of later, Li's bald voice became sharp. Suddenly the shop was silent, and everyone looked at Li Bald inexplicably. Is there any mistake? How could this beauty be in contact with evil spirits? A young man said dissatisfied. The eyes of the masses are sharp and sharp. In their impression, the evil spirits are not all fierce and evil. Their bodies are suspended in the air, appearing in a translucent state. Huo Qingqing is a top beauty in every way. Niu Junda didn't know the inside story, but he also felt the evil aura from Huo Qingqing, so he looked at Li Bald's eyes with surprise. This Bald, sir, how could she be an evil spirit? Niu Junda said kindly. Don't worry, our guardian will protect you as soon as an evil spirit appears. Although he thinks this bald man is a stupid, but he is a guardian after all, his attitude must be correct. Crazy, you are all crazy. She really is an evil spirit. Li Bald murmured and roared, his mind was full of pictures of Huo Qingqing who had almost killed him before. At this time, no one dared to continue to be arrogant in the store, turning around and rushing out of the door like flying. As he ran out, Niu Junda was still howling miserably. Evil spirits, there are evil spirits. Rushing into the small truck and kicking the accelerator, the small truck flew into the sky in an arc. The voice howled, the people on the street were very scared, but Niu Junda came forward to explain it, and then it stopped. After driving the car so far, Li Bald only eased. Although seeing Huo Qingqing again he couldn't stop the panic, but at this time the car had already driven out of Hyaming Street, there should be no problem in thinking about it. HMPH, Qin Ming, that's an evil spirit at all. If you don't listen to advice, well, I see how you die by then. After a while, Li Bald's face showed a grim smile. Don't worry, I will definitely come and burn you paper money when you die. At this time, Li Baldo had already determined in his heart that Qin Ming would undoubtedly die in 2 days. Thinking of this, he finally feels better. On the other side guarding the game, Sun Shouheng sat around the desk with 4 people, all of them dignified, because the loss of the animal tide has been counted. This time there was a direct loss of 13.52 million credit points. The Guardian sacrificed 13 people and paid pensions in accordance with the highest standards. Yang Qianqianwei reported, there were no casualties among the people, and the cause of the beast tide is unknown. The spirit riot seems to be a secret opening of the space channel. After listening, Sun Shouheng suddenly raised his head. How many, do you say how many people the Guardian sacrificed? 13. Yang Qianqian said with a weird expression. It must be the expert who secretly assisted, and I think that if it weren't for the subsequent spiritual riots to happen too suddenly, the secret master would not reveal any traces. This time, the situation is very similar to the one in Tunghai University before. Many guardians reported that the evil spirits in front of them suddenly stood in place. Otherwise, our losses will be extremely heavy, and even half of the East China Sea city will be destroyed. Fan Junction nodded slowly. Yes, we have only been in contact with the beast tide for less than 20 minutes, and there will be such a big loss. If it weren't for the terrorist existence, the loss would be serious. Old son, don't be sure, this matter must be reported to the headquarters immediately. Fan Junction directly interrupted Sun Shouheng's opening. Colleagues for so many years, he also knows that Sun Shouheng loves to talk nonsense. Sun Shouheng coughed awkwardly. I just wanted to say that I have already reported. As soon as the voice fell, a message came from Guang Brain. Look, say Cao Cao has arrived. Sun Shouheng turned on his brain 3 seconds later. Boom, have you made a mistake? Only now I know to send a master over. The content of the headquarters information is very simple. There will be an emperor-level powerhouse coming to East China Sea City. Sun Shouheng had applied for a long time because of the woman Huo Qingqing. After knowing this, Yang Qianqian and others also sighed. But this is also a good thing, even though it's useless now that the emperor rank comes. However, at least I can investigate the cause of this beast wave. I don't know which emperor-level master came over, I'm a little bit expectant. Yang Qianqian said in anticipation. Don't think about it, it's me. Suddenly, the office door was pushed open. A tall woman in a tight-fitting combat suit walked in. Everyone turned their heads subconsciously and looked at them, their eyes widened, and Yang Qianqian lowered his head subconsciously and looked at himself. Xiaoqianqian, how is it, don't you think I don't have one? Ouyang Yanyan walked behind Yang Qianqian and hugged her directly. Feeling the touch from his back, Yang Qianqian's face was red and his ears were red. Ouyang big sister is good. Glitter, let big sis see if it grows up. As Ouyang Yanyan said, she directly took possession of her body and grabbed it to a place. Yang Qianqian had a haircut. There are so many people here. After a while, 5 people sat around the desk. That said, the situation in East Sea City is really precarious. Ouyang Yanyan furrowed her brows, she didn't look like she was messing around before. On the other hand, the 3 men including Sun Shouheng all looked embarrassed, and Yang Qianqian blushed even more. Just now, Sun Shouheng has already informed in detail about all the recent circumstances, and now he is waiting for Ouyang Yanyan's arrangements. The biggest here now is Ouyang Yanyan, this emperor-level woman. You must know that Ouyang Yan is only 27 years old, and she has become an emperor-level powerhouse. This is the youngest imperial-level powerhouse in China in hundreds of years. Why don't it be like this? It's already a bit late today. First go to the restaurant you said to test it out. Ouyang Yanyan slowly said. Tomorrow we will start investigating the cause of the beast tide. Soon after the meeting ended, Ouyang Yanyan was sitting alone in an office sorting documents. The reason why she will appear here this time is because of the hidden master in East Sea City. The Blue Bird file has been made public among the emperor-level powerhouses. The last time what happened in the far north was focused on by the Guardian Bureau headquarters, and the same thing happened in East Sea City just a long time ago. Who wouldn't notice such a big blue bird in the sky? Ouyang Yanyan's purpose this time is to find the powerhouse who is suspected of being a god. The recovery of spiritual qi has begun. After so many years, China is not without a similar situation. On the contrary, there are currently 3 god-level powerhouses recorded in the Guardian Bureau, and there are more suspected ones. But the strength of this type of powerhouse is too terrifying, and it is very difficult for even the emperor to find it. It looks like a lot of energy is going to be spent again. It's really a headache. Shenling Hotel. Standing at the door, Ouyang Yanyan felt the strong devilish energy on Huo Qingqing's body. Others may not know, but as an emperor-level powerhouse, she also knows many Shin Mis in the Guardian Bureau. The life level of this group of people is not as low as the evil spirits, and they are collectively referred to as the Demon King. Demons, this is a race that has slowly emerged in recent years. I don't know exactly how it appeared, but these people can order the evil spirits and make the Guardian Bureau a headache. Are you sure? That woman hasn't been unusually moving lately. Ouyang Yanyan raised her eyebrows. Yang Qianchen nodded. Yes, I observed 24 hours a day before. She is really like a cook. She goes to work during the day and rests at night. Oh, this type of demon king has many methods, which are not what you can imagine. Ouyang Yanyan snorted. You have a lot to learn. Yang Qianchen rolled his eyes. As the group walked into the hotel, Su Qingyuan, the girl leaned forward excitedly. 5 guests, please. Ouyang Yanyan's eyes suddenly lit up, and she saw that Su Qingyuan was the guardian spirit of God of War. When a few people entered, it happened that Niu Junda was still preaching today's record with Qin Ming. Seeing Sun Shouhang and others, the pretending appearance suddenly wilted. Boss, why are you here? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.